I'll call this Bang Bang. Seriously?
Bang, bang.
I will fuck you up. I will beat your ass.
Bang, bang.
I will fuck you up. Pull up, bitch.
Bang, bang.
I will fuck you up. I will beat your ass.
Bang, bang.
I will fuck you up.
Objection. Objection.
Bang, bang.
I will fuck you up. KO. Bang bang.
Bang, bang.
I will fuck you up. You're a bitch, bro.
Bang, bang.
I will fuck you up. I will beat your ass.
Bang, bang.
I will fuck you up. Right?
Yeah.
The bang bang, the bang bang, pull up. The bang bang, the bang bang, pull up.
Bang, bang.
Right?
Yeah.
The bang bang, the bang bang, pull up. The bang bang, the bang bang.
Bang, bang. Bang, bang. Bang, bang.
All right, Mr. Lally, your next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor, the Commonwealth will call Trooper Michael Proctor to the stand. State your name and spell your last name for the jury.
Michael Proctor, 𝗵𝗃𝗍𝗄𝗏.
You're a bitch, bro.
Bang, bang.
I will fuck you up. I will beat your ass. I will fuck you up.
I'm going to allow it.
Bang, bang.
Welcome to the weekend live show.
508 is where I'm from.
We run down the biggest stories of the week with you every Saturday night. Let us know in the comments right now where you reppin'.
Apache Junction, Taunton, Worcester, Long Island, Manchard, South Florida, Webster, Malden, Framingham, Tucson, Billerica, Salem, Gloucester, Moosop, Connecticut, Charleston, South Carolina, Roslindale, Moosop, Connecticut, London, Hanson, Glendale, Arizona, Lynn, Mapleville, Quincy.
Food stamps, leave your clothes, buddy, and date. Then we're screwing up the
funny ass guy, man.
508.
Have you ever heard of 𝗃𝗏𝗺𝗺? Yeah? Are you a fan?
508 is where I'm from.
Hey, what's up?
508 is where I'm from.
How was that?
You a freaking idiot. Stop telling people that I'm mentally deranged and stupid.
Call me Aidan. I'm not a doctor, but...
Get out of my store, please.
You're a fucking loser.
You are a loser.
You're not a journalist. You're nobody. You're not turtle hair. Don't make such fun of the criminal justice system.
NFL on the house, blog out.
Let's get this party started.
And I will not be intimidated. I will not be silenced. And we will continue on our journey for justice for John O'Keefe and for Karen Reed.
Tick, tick, boom. Boys, go baby, we bringing out toys. Boys, chopper be singing, should be on the voice. Bang, bang, we gon' ride out. Gang, gang, we don't die out. Want it like this, ain't no timeouts. Tell me who really gon' find out.
We be disturbing the peace. Working, we serving the streets.
Karen Reed has supporters who've shown up in large numbers.
Tick, tick, boom.
Hard body, and not scaring nobody. You make me resort to wildin'. You must be blind by the diamonds. I didn't want it to be this way, but y'all won't need to try this, so it's no way around it. You the loudest one, it's going quiet. We be disturbing the peace. Working, we serving the streets. About to go ahead, going beast. Bang, bang, leave you sleep.
This is the first time I think I've ever seen this. An outpouring of support for someone accused of murdering a Boston police officer. Unbelievable situation. Never seen anything like it.
Tick, tick, boom. You can't stop me, so who gon' stop me? You can't stop me, so who gon' stop me? You can't stop me, so who gon' stop me? You can't stop me, so who gon' stop me?
We be disturbing the peace. Working, we serving the streets. About to go ahead, going beast. Bang, bang, leave you sleep. It's go, 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 go time.
Tick, tick, boom.
Boom. What's up, Turtle Riders? How's everyone out there doing tonight? Good? Good? Excellent. Welcome to the live show, ladies and gentlemen. I am your fearless host. My name is Aidan Kearney. You could call me Clarence Woods Emerson if you'd like. That's my Facebook account. Go follow me on there. I do little morning updates from the bus stop every morning. Let people know I'm not in jail. Everyone's always worried about that. Actually, a year ago today, I just shared this on Facebook. Check this out. 1 year ago's memory today was I had a court appearance. I was brought in shackles, like an animal, like a caged animal that needed to be all like, dude, like this is like some Green Mile shit. Like, look at this. They brought me. I got the full shackles there. So I came in there, and then there was the kiss to Grant. This whole hearing took like 30 seconds, but I was just happy to get out of jail for a day. So it was like a field trip. Anyway, that was a year ago today. So yeah, you can follow me on Facebook at that. You could follow me on, what else is I'm saying? Well, follow me. You can call me. You can call me Uncle Turtle Boy. Old school turtle riders are known to do that. I prefer doctor. If I'm being perfectly honest, I've earned it. I'm a doctor of journalism and hot takes in general. So feel free to call me that. It's my preferred pronoun. You can also call me Daddy if you'd like. I understand that could be a little weird and uncomfortable for some people. Therefore, it's not mandatory, but I will allow it. I don't care what you call me. Timothy Kearney is a new thing too. That also works when I'm solving mysteries in the woods with my leather jacket deep in thought. I don't care what you call me though. Just be here every Tuesday and Saturday night at 9 p.m. sharp, unless there's some Celtics game going on or Notre Dame football or something, and I'll let you know ahead of time. Not the Patriots, God forbid. They're never on at primetime anymore because we suck. But yeah, I don't care what you call me. Just, smash that subscribe button. Be here every Tuesday and Saturday night. Give us a big thumbs up afterwards. Leave us a comment, and it's all good in the hood. All right. So, yeah, if anyone wants to have their messages read out loud on the show tonight, what we're going to do here. You can't do super chats, as you know, because I've been demonetized by YouTube since 2021 when I went on a rant about Joe Biden and I was against the vaccine mandate. I didn't like it. And I was just against it, and you can't be against it. So, maybe they'll change their mind now that Trump's president. I don't know. But at the time, you couldn't do it. And guess what? I don't want monetization back. I'm the only guy that doesn't want to be monetized because those crooks take 40%. All right. They took 40% of my super chat. They just stole it. For what? So some pretty colors can come up on the bottom. Who cares about any of that? I mean, how dumb are we? We're giving away 40% of our money so that we can see cool colors on our screen. That's stupid. No, we just went and we did the most American thing possible. I just built my own platform. Okay. It's called Turtle Chat. It's linked to the top. You click on that. You can give whatever amount of money you want, for the grift. And I will read your message out loud to the class. Okay. You can also cash at me at $Uncle But caveat. So that's how I usually do it. Now, at this point, usually in a show, I'd go and I'd start reading them all. However, tonight I have a special guest that I'm going to bring on in a moment. He goes, I call him Brother Counsel. His name's Martin. He's an attorney from Michigan. He was also barred in New Jersey. And we're going to get into him in a minute. And I just don't want to be the guy that brings a guest on and then spends the whole show reading my super chats. You know what I mean? So if you give money on the Turtle Chat, I will read it out loud while Martin's on with me, while Brother Counsel's here, if it pertains to him. When I'm done with him, when our conversation's finished, I will continue the show, and then I will read the rest of the Turtle Chat. So I'm going to give priority to Turtle Chats that have to do, which are, specific questions towards Brother Counsel, okay, when we have him on momentarily. So, that's how I plan on doing it. So again, my background with this guy, but I just had a conversation with him couple minutes ago before the show, just a meet and greet. I've never spoken to him before. We've DM'd on Twitter a couple times, but just in relation to setting up this show, basically. But you know, I found him on YouTube. He showed up in the algorithm. The algorithm feeds you anything. I don't know about you guys. It just feeds me anything Karen Reed related. And so anytime a lawyer, especially, has a YouTube thing, I'm instantly more interested in what they have to say, because they're lawyers. You know, they know how the stuff works better than anyone else. So, you know, I started listening to him, and he was just a really sharp guy. And I understand that couple, you know, when I announced that I was going to have him on, of course, who reaches out, like who tries to get him on? Oh, I have to go on too. That would be, of course, 𝗵𝗏, like, because she has to do everything that I do, and just follow me around and just listen to everything I do and just glom onto what, you know what I mean? We all knew that was going to happen. And guess what? And I know that was controversial, and a lot of people didn't want to listen to him, like, because you saw my public tweet. I'm like, if you're going to do this, they got to go on yours, because it will be a fucking free for all if he goes on theirs. Like, and they'll mute you. You don't want that. It's going to be bad. You got to have it. Because he's an adult. That's what I liked about him. He was an adult about it. Like, just his whole, people like him add legitimacy to this. People like him and Mark Betterow and Melanie Little and people like that, because they're serious adults and they don't have time for the tomfoolery that me and the glare get into. You know what I mean? Like, we're fun. Like, we're more entertainers. Like, we're serious people, but we like to fuck around, and we like to be a little bit inappropriate. Right. And, you know, whatever. Whereas, like, I liked his direct approach. It's like, he doesn't get in the gutter with us. Right. He sticks to the facts. He sticks to the evidence of the case. And I like that. I don't want him to be a turtle rider. Okay. I don't want him to be labeled as that, because that's what they try to do to you. Oh, this guy's just a turtle rider. He's just a grifting lawyer. Like, that's what they want. So I want him to have them on. I want somebody to have a conversation with the other side. Right. The problem is you can't find intelligent people on the other side. They're very hard to find, like serious people. He couldn't find any lawyers that were willing to go on and discuss this case with them, shockingly. So this is, you know, it's good, because this is the best that they can find to represent their side. I watched it. It was like 2 hours long. And again, it's painful to listen to 𝗵𝗏 speak. I get it. And I've heard it all before. But what I liked about it is, no matter how hard she tried to get him to take the bait about talking about me, like, that was what it was. Do you condemn witness intimidation? He's like, I'm not falling for that shit. We're here to talk about the case. And he just always brought it back to the facts. And I appreciated that, because there wasn't much they could say in response to it. Like, there was not much they could say. And I enjoyed it. I don't know about you guys. I enjoyed it. For the first time, actually having anything that involved 𝗵𝗏 and 𝗵𝗏, I actually enjoyed it, because he did such a good job, I think, of moderating it. That's just my opinion. Other people might feel differently, and that's okay. But I wanted to have him on my show tonight, because I want to have a discussion about this case with him. I find a lot of his takes interesting and just his perspective. So without further ado, I'm going to bring him on now to join me. Hello, brother Counsel. How are you?
Well, good evening to you, Dr. 𝗏𝗏𝗏. Is that the correct way to call you, Doctor?
Yeah, and I prefer that, and I'm going to call you brother. I know your name's Martin, and Kevin kept calling you Martin the other night. I think it was just to kind of remind. It's like, I'm going to call you brother, if that's okay.
Anything that works for you works for me. So, yeah, I appreciate some of the having me on the show. Obviously, you know that you reached out to me before I arranged that with Kate and Kevin. So we had it already in the books. Just you, I think you only go Tuesday and Saturday. So
that's right.
Right. So I don't know when we made it. I don't remember exactly, but
you were playing hockey. I messaged you on a whim on like a Tuesday. I'm like, hey, you want to come on tonight? You're like, no, I'm playing hockey. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, you know, I'm getting older. You know, I'm actually turning 40 soon. So you know, your metabolism doesn't go. No, it slows down.
You're
so you
got spring chicken.
Oh, you got to really, you know, exercise and take it seriously. So ice hockey is a great exercise. And you know, Boston, I think, has a pretty good hockey team, don't they? So
had a couple of years ago. We're very mediocre right now. Better than Detroit's, at least, you know.
Yeah, well,
but
Detroit
that's
also
not
is on-
saying much.
Yeah, Detroit's on the rebound also. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's so actually, yeah. So hockey is something I enjoy, and like I gotta go. So as much as one of my goals of 2025 was to be on with 𝗕𝗏𝗺, I had to give it up for the hockey. So it's good we got to come on tonight, though.
That's great, man. So yeah, tell me what. So we talked about this off air. You live in Michigan, you practice law there, but you're also barred in New Jersey because that's where your wife's family is from, correct?
Yeah. So yeah, I've been practicing mostly in Michigan, but my wife lives in New Jersey. So and her entire family lives in New Jersey, and occasionally they're calling me and then having friends call me, and I keep telling them, look, I'm not really licensed in New Jersey. We really shouldn't be having this conversation, or I can't really help you that much. But I was like, you know what, may as well get licensed in New Jersey as well. You know, who knows what's going to happen. I actually used to live in New Jersey. So I lived in New Jersey the first 5 years of our marriage.
What county?
I think it's Ocean. I think it was
down the bottom. Oh, you're down the bottom.
I think so. I think the city is Lakewood, but I think the county is Ocean. It's like right near it's right near the river, right near the ocean. I think it's literally like like a 20-minute drive to get to the ocean. So we lived there for 5 years, moved back to Michigan, and then I was just licensed in Michigan for a long time. I was like, I really should get licensed in New Jersey. So we did that. I started repping some cases in New Jersey, very, very few. Only things that I can handle on Zoom because I can't be in two places at once, and I need to build out that whole New Jersey presence. And right now, I'm getting busy with the Karen Reed stuff and all this other 𝗃𝗏𝗃 stuff. So I'm being pulled in too many directions, and I need to figure out what how to handle it all and manage it all. So, but yeah, I mean the short answer is I'm licensed in both Michigan and New Jersey, and I gotta say, 𝗕𝗏𝗺, that or Dr. 𝗕𝗏𝗺, I'm sorry,
whatever you want to call me, brother.
I put out a peer-reviewed grifter test.
I saw that. I like that.
Yeah, and I don't know why you didn't take the test yet. I mean, I think.
Well, I'm pretty established as a grifter, I think, at this point. It's just anybody who is making money or making a living off of their content is labeled as a grifter now. It's like it's a badge that Kevin and that wears that he's not a grifter. He says because he doesn't, even though he makes some money, he doesn't make as much as others that believe Karen Reed is innocent. So he's like, I am this principled person who doesn't make a fraction of the money other people make. I must be right. That's his whole thing.
Right. Yeah. No. So I mean, obviously, I'm not making a ton of money on this either. And I, quite frankly, I'm not sure if I know of any channels that are not monetized that are covering this. Who's doing this out of the goodness of their heart. I mean, I just found out that you're not monetized, but I'm
monetized in my own way.
Right. You're monetized in your own way, but. I mean, really, people work, they expect to get some sort of compensation for their time, don't they?
It's also like a free country. Like if people want to give money to someone else, they're allowed to do that. Like nobody's being scammed here. Like people are of their own free accord want to give you money to have a message read. That's America. That's capitalism. Like what's wrong with that?
And what's very interesting. I mean, there's something that happened to me, right? So I've been covering the Karen Reed case from January before the trial. So a couple months before the trial, I started seeing some of the filings. I thought some interesting legal issues were coming up, like with how close they were able to get to the courthouse in terms of the protest or whatever. Like that's an interesting legal issue. I thought that was an interesting First Amendment issue. I like so I like to discuss those type of things on my channel. So I started looking at some of the filings and they're interesting. And then the more I dug into the case, the more interesting it became. And I was literally putting up videos for months. I mean, since the trial. For years, and then and all I did on Twitter was I'm kind of like an ancient dinosaur, so I didn't even have a Twitter account till like a year ago or something. And the only reason why I put it out there is because somebody told me, like, in order to get some more, it helps the YouTube algorithm. People will find you more and they'll appreciate you more, appreciate your analysis. So it's just a way to help the algorithm. So I created a Twitter account, and I literally just started posting videos or nothing else, not tweets or anything. And then some other people are saying, maybe you should start tweeting a little bit, So I put out one tweet, and this is like a year after I covered the case. Like I've been putting out videos, never being called anything like in my comment section or anything. I put out one tweet about the difference between Trooper Paul and Dr. Marie Russell. And I put out one tweet that went a little crazy. I think got like 54,000. And that's since that tweet, all of a sudden I've been being called grifter.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I know, and I can imagine the accounts that are doing it. And there's like 50 of them manned by like 10 people, and it's the same thing. Like I can already picture the faces of the avatars of all the people saying this stuff. I know who they are. I've blocked 90% of them, and I feel you.
And then what happened is that after I put that one tweet, which is like basically just laying out the difference between Trooper Paul and Dr. Russell, like, is that not facts? Like, I just laid out some facts, some interesting things to think about, right? And then all of a sudden on my channel, I started getting all these haters, like people like posting all this stuff about how
me. That's what they want to talk about is me
about you, and then there's also just like the people that hate the free Karen readers, and they've just been like all over my comment section, just attacking anyone. And like I've been posting for a year without any of this, and then I just like that one tweet, and all of a sudden I'm labeled. People are calling me and then at my names, and then they're on my comment section, my YouTube page, and it's just like, okay, what did I just do? What bear did I just poke? But anyway,
but there's nothing they can say to you because of the way that you handle it. And again, I said that before you came on, and it's like that's why I don't want you to be labeled as a turtle rider. Like I'm handling this interview tonight as professionally as possible. I'm not getting in the gutter. I'm not telling you about my whole background and history with the two people that you had on your show. I prefer you don't know that stuff, because that way you come into this blind, right? And you're not biased by any of this. And you cannot possibly be accused of being in the tank for me if I haven't exposed you to any of the drama involving those two people.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I'm from Michigan. Like a lot of these people that are coming that are close by, or they have some, intimate connections with either side. I have no connections. I'm just here to try to help people understand the legal process, help understand the law that they're arguing about in the motions, like the motion that was just filed. I try to help people understand what's going on, the legal proceedings, and then just give you what my knowledge and training and experience has taught me about what I think is going on in court and what I think we're not seeing, and what's significant evidence, and what the verdict should be. So
right.
That's all that I'm trying to do. And I see that this case is just so toxic that as soon as you get near it and you say something that people don't like, they just attack you and they start labeling you.
Yeah, I've noticed. Believe me. Now
I've covered a whole bunch of cases. Like if you look at my channel, I've covered Michelle. I mean, I've covered so many cases, and the Kearney is just a very interesting case. I'm very intrigued by it. I think it's very interesting, and the facts, and it seems like the more you find out that will help one side, you also find out some other very interesting things, like questions that you have also. So it's just one of those cases that the more you dig into it, the more you have more questions. But it's just it's just what's interesting is just you poke the bear in this case, and who knows.
And it's largely my fault. I mean, my doing. I wouldn't say fault. My doing. Like this was a case that no one was paying attention to for the first 15 months of it, and then I came along and I read all the court filings, and I was like, holy shit. And I'll be frank with you. I'm completely biased. I don't pretend to be unbiased in this thing. I've made my mind up after reading all the court filings that Karen Reed is innocent, and that therefore the only other explanation is that John was killed inside the house. And therefore, as a person who believes that, how can I not be outraged about that? How can I? This is my community. This is like where I live. And how can I not be outraged that these people are walking around free? I mean, these are elected officials that I pay taxes to, and this is what it's going towards. So I'm outraged about this. So I'm more than just a journalist. I'm an activist. I get out there, I protest. I'm upset about this. And prior to Karen Reed, I've been doing this for 10 years. This is the way I've always talked. I've always been colorful. I've always been offensive. And so I'm a very divisive and polarizing figure that jumped knee deep into this. And for the first 3 or 4 months of my coverage of this, there was no backlash. This whole thing you see on Twitter, this is new. Like it was just us. And then somewhere along the line, I think really the turning point was when Gretchen Voss wrote her story for Boston Magazine, and that kind of emboldened them. And then there was this small but quiet fringe, like Karen Reed is guilty thing that started forming on Twitter. And, once the trial happened, then, most public opinion polls on this trial on Lawyer, or Emily D. Baker or any of these channels, it was like 90 to 95% not guilty, which you never see that in a trial. But, that also means 5 to 10% say that she is guilty, and 5 to 10% of millions of people is a sizable number. And so you're going to see and they're loud. The other side is very loud they're small, but they're loud. Right. And they make their presence known, and they're pretty vile. But I'll be honest. I mean, I'm guilty as charged. You're going to find a lot of nasty shit I've said too. Right. But that's just how I am. And I'm passionate about this. I truly, truly believe in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like when I was covering this, and once I saw the entire trial play out, and I'm like, I can't believe this. Like she's should be found not guilty. And that was like, and I've covered a bunch of stuff already, and I've seen a lot of stuff, and there's something very different about this trial. Okay, and I think every single lawyer who's been covering this is saying the same thing. There's something very different about this case than every other case that you're watching, where you have a very skillful defense attorney who tries to spin this very interesting conspiracy or weave or try to create reasonable doubt when there's not one. And sometimes they can score some points, like, but a lot of the time it's like, yeah, that's good lawyering, but like, you're really spinning this fantastic fantasy type of thing. And that's what I've noticed by following a lot of these trials. And then all of a sudden with this case, and you hear those 𝗪𝗏 experts, which was for me like what completely nail on the coffin, which is why I don't understand. And I think that you spoke to a juror, right?
Two jurors,
and I don't understand the jurors' thought process if they were going to convict her on any of the charges.
Well, did you hear in my interview with with both of them? They both said that the jurors had no idea that the federal government, the FBI, hired those experts. They thought that they were hired by Karen's insurance company, her car insurance company, because obviously the car insurance company would not want her to be in an accident, right? Because they wouldn't want to pay money for that, right? And so they convinced, like, there was an engineer on the jury who, kind of thought he was smarter than the 𝗪𝗏 guys and said, no, this is not how it works. Those guys are paid off by the insurance company. You can't believe a word they say. And, if you're on and the fact of the matter is that the three jurors who were removed on the final day, all passionately believed that Karen Read was innocent and showed it in the courtroom. Like, their facial reactions, all women, they all made just visceral reactions to Michael Proctor's testimony that looked like they were going to throw up. They didn't, and I
imagine everybody probably made the same type of reaction when hearing
right. But Michael Proctor saw that. And the prosecution saw that. And coincidentally, those were the three jurors who were all removed. There's a lottery to do this. And we did the math of this to pick those three women who all showed it in their face how they were going to vote. It was like 1 out of 541 or some huge number like that. The odds there would be those three women exactly. And they were all polled, and they all had strong personalities too. And in the jury room, like, I spoke to one of the jurors, and he was just kind of like, if you talk to this guy, he's the one, he went back and forth. He ultimately landed on not guilty. He was one of the 4. It was 8-4. But he said it was 6-6, but the stronger personalities in the room were the guilty people, like this engineer and the foreman who was a former cop. And that they convinced a couple people, including him, to go, and he's a EMT. They convinced him initially to, maybe she did it. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Maybe manslaughter. And then he ended up switching back at the last minute and they hung. But it shows the power of persuasion, the power of personalities in a room. If somebody's an engineer, you're like, well, this guy must be smart. He's got a PhD. The guy had a PhD who was kind of the leader of this Karen Read is guilty thing in the jury room. So, and if you don't have strong personalities in there if you don't have a Henry Fonda in there, 12 Angry Men, who's willing to just give up his entire day to persuade you to come to his side, then, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little scary if you think about it, like when the reasonable doubt is so clear to me, and then still they're willing to convict someone. And I mean, look, we know there's people that are innocent that are sitting in jail. I mean, that's the sad truth, and it's not a perfect system. And that's why, there's a lot of work and heartache, to be honest, like, the best client to represent as a defense attorney is a guilty client, because if you lose the case, you don't lose sleep over it. Like, the guy's guilty. When you have a really innocent client, you don't sleep. You just don't, because this person's innocent, and anything can happen. And if you lose that case, that person's sitting in jail now, which is not right.
I've thought about that a lot, because the dynamic with Karen Read and her defense team is they're not just, they're friends. Like, they're good. I think Eliza Little and Karen Read are like going to be like best friends for life. And, they're just extremely close. They talk every day, all these people. And you know, I think how hard it must be for them. It's like going into court. It would be devastating for all of them if she was convicted of something, but they get to go home at the end of the day, and Karen Reed doesn't. And it's just like, they're gonna, if God forbid Karen Reed were convicted of anything, like they would cry. The attorneys would cry. Like it would personally affect them, I think, in ways that they've never been affected before in a courtroom.
Yeah, no, when you're that close, I mean, when you're working on a case like that for years and years and years like this, there's a case that I'm working on that I've been working on for the past 7 years. Okay, 7 years up and down with the appeals. Just it doesn't stop, and I had to try it twice. And you get so connected to that case. I mean, you know, it's really a strong emotional connection. And as an attorney, you're supposed to at least distance yourself a little bit, you know, in order to do your job. Because if you're too emotionally, you can't come across as just, you know, to the jury as like you're too connected to the case, because I think they discredit that a little bit. You have to still be professional, and that's why you have to kind of draw this line. But it's impossible when you're so connected with the case and you honest to God believe that your client is innocent.
Oh, they believe in it. Like,
yeah, I'm sure they do.
Alan Jackson's had a lot of guilty clients, you know, a lot of unlikable clients. He represented Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
He represented Harvey Weinstein. You know, so he's done unlikable clients, but like they're used to unlikable clients, and they're used to cutting deals and getting less years shaved off. And like, that's what they do. That's why you pay them the big bucks. But in this case, they have a innocent woman's life in their hands, and that's a lot of pressure. I think they're doing a good job, but I think the longer this goes on, as you're going to see, as we saw this week with the new stuff, there's always a curveball. There's always something else. You're like, oh my God, what else can they add onto this pile of shit?
Exactly.
Not to change. So we got a couple turtle chats here that pertain to you. So again, if you guys want to donate and have your messages read, you can click at the link at the top for turtle chat, and I will read them out loud. However, I'm going to give priority. I will read them all eventually tonight, but I'm going to give priority while our guest is here to read the ones that pertain to him. So this $10 here from A-Rod. She says, tell the haters that Brother Counsel has been following the case since January of 24. Brother Counsel was also on Surviving the Survivor the first week of the trial. He was definitely leaning more towards Karen Reed being guilty, so he's not jumping in on the last hour. That's interesting.
Absolutely. I remember when I was watching that case from the beginning, and again, I didn't know everything that you may now know. I was just, and this is what I tell my channel all the time, I'm only going to base my opinion on what I see in trial. You know, what other people may have access to and what other people have, you know, informants or, you know, sources. I can't deal with that. Like, I'm just here in Michigan, so I need to see the trial. And I'm going to tell you my opinion based on the trial. So when the trial was playing out, they had me on the first week and they said, well, you know, what do you think? And I said, well, I don't know what to tell you. I can't say innocent. I can't say guilty because the trial is ongoing. So far, the prosecution's putting on a case. You know, they're pointing to her guilt, you know, so I can't tell you one way or the other until I see all the evidence.
Oh, this was the first week. This was the first week of the trial. You made these statements.
It was like the first or second week of the trial. It was early on in the middle of the trial. They had me on with the panel, and you know, they were trying to push me into a certain position. And I told them I can't take a position on this case until I see all the evidence. How can I make a decision without seeing what the defense has to say? You know, the prosecution is putting on their case. It looks pretty good, but I have to withhold judgment until I see all the evidence. And then, you know, they kept pushing me. And then until the trial was completely finished, I went on their show again. And I said,
STS, Surviving the Survivor.
STS, yeah. And I went on the show again. They have me on all the time. I went on my show again and I said, okay, after all the evidence, there is no question that there's reasonable doubt. There's just no question that and the verdict should be not guilty. And I said, even though the verdict should be not guilty, I just imagine it's going to be hung, just because, you know, it's going to be hard to get a non-guilty verdict, even though that's the correct verdict. And I was right that it was hung. But yeah, I mean, I was not completely the free Karen Reed movement. I was not that way from the beginning. And I did not jump in on the 11th hour. I know people are accusing me because I got active on Twitter just recently. So people think, oh, I'm just jumping in now.
Right.
If you look at my channel, I've been covering this case since it started, you know, so I mean, not since it started, but like since the trial, at least since January, or a couple months before. So
interesting. Okay, so I got another one here from, let's see, this one is from $50 from Stephanie. She says, totally worth the money tonight. Great guest. I love Brother Counsel, supporting you both all the way from Ontario, Canada. This trial has gone international. It's pretty crazy to think this trial in our own backyard here in Massachusetts. And honestly, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but like literally no one was paying attention to this trial until I started writing about it. Like, it's like I first read about it. I'm like, wait a minute. How is this not the story of the century? Like what? This is just wild. So, Yeah. Well, thank you very much for that one, Stephanie. We got $10 here from David and says, ask the brother why he thinks Jessica Hyde and 𝗵𝗴𝗲 were more credible than Richard Green. You said that?
I didn't say they're more credible. I mean, I said that they're very qualified. I think that if you look just on their resumes, Jessica Hyde seems to be maybe more qualified than Richard Green. And if you look at their CVs, in terms of their, she teaches and she's been hired by like all these big highfalutin companies. What I said with Kevin and Kate was, if you're going to ask me my opinion as a lawyer watching the trial and what I saw during the trial, which means I'm not considering apparently there's some FBI guy who said that an FBI expert that said that she actually did the search at 227. What I'm saying is that I saw two experts say and explain why she didn't do the search at 227. I saw Richard Green say that she did. So if your question to me is, if I had to convict Jennifer McCabe and the burden was beyond a reasonable doubt, I would say I have reasonable doubt because I have these two experts saying that she didn't do it. So depending on what your burden is, I would say that, no, I'm not sure whether she did it or not. That's what my legal, if you know more than me,
if Jennifer McCabe was on trial, which she's not.
Right, exactly.
So, right. And
exactly. So if Jennifer McCabe was on trial and I had to say, which experts am I going to pick to choose to beyond a reasonable doubt? I would say, look, I have reasonable doubt because it could be these other experts know what they're talking about. And they're saying that she didn't do it. You have Richard Green saying that she did do it. So I said, like, if you're going to hang your entire conspiracy on Jennifer McCabe's search, then that would be more suspect. There's a lot of other issues here, like in my coincidences video that I put out. But yeah, go ahead.
Did you understand anything that any of these people was talking about? I didn't understand. I listened to Green, 𝗵𝗴𝗲, and Hyde. I don't know what the hell any of them are talking about. I don't pretend to be some tech nerd guy, and they all sound smart. They all claim to know what they're talking about. They all say these words I don't know, right? Two of them say the search, probably didn't happen at 227. The other one says it definitely did. And it's like, all I take from that is that these experts disagree. My big thing about them is that when this Google search first came out, because this is what got my attention, was the Google search, April 18th, 2023, I write about it. 2 days later, the DA's office puts out an announcement and says, we are not dropping the charges because we believe this search never happened and we're going to prove it. But they hadn't spoken to Jessica Hyde or 𝗵𝗴𝗲𝗃 in April of 2023. So how could they be so sure? They didn't find these two people until 6 months later. They just suddenly, and you will never convince me that like 𝗵𝗴𝗲𝗃 is the first guy they found in the phone book. He works in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And it's like they just went shopping for an expert. That's all they did. There's no way that this guy was their first choice. The guy liked the sound of his own voice. Okay. He's promoting his app, ArtX, and he's go ahead.
Yeah, no. I mean, if they didn't have those experts back then, and the Celebrate report says that she did the search at 227, then how can they say we're just Adam? Oh yeah, we believe in our case. Like, hello, Celebrate doesn't lie, right?
Everyone, the fix was in.
You know how many people? You know how many people have been convicted on Celebrate? Like,
yeah, all of them.
Yeah, exactly. So until you have these experts who would actually, and yeah, I didn't follow everything they're talking about, artifacts and SQLs. I didn't follow all that stuff.
Nobody did. Nobody knew what the hell they were talking about.
Well, yeah, but again, what you said is that what I did follow was that they were certain, and that's what their testimony was, that she didn't do it then. And then you had Richard Green saying, yeah, she did do it then. So you have a battle of the experts. But if what you're saying is true, that they didn't even contact these experts, so why would they put out this?
That's exactly what I said. Like, how can you be so sure? And that's how I knew the fix was in. It's like that they knew the answer, and they were just going out looking for somebody who was going to give it to them. That's all they were going to do, and they literally proved that. That's why, like, Karen Reed was better off not even like holding off the Google search until the last minute, like a week before the trial started, and just drop it on him. Because that's what this whole thing is about. They keep coming up with undeniable evidence that John O'Keefe was killed inside that house, right? And that a conspiracy existed to cover it up after the fact, right? And all they do, the more evidence they pump out, it just gives the Commonwealth more time to come up with a lie to cover up for that. For instance, the cell phone, which I think the Apple Health data showing him going up and down 3 flights of stairs, I think is the strongest piece of evidence in this entire case, stronger than 𝗪𝗏, stronger than everything. Because up and down 3 flights of stairs at 12:21, 12:24. To this day, they do not have an explanation for that. Their only response is GPS, right? But
their response was Trooper Guarino said that, when you're going up and down hills, it can and look, I put out a video about common sense. Like, I think common sense. Do you think Apple is going to make a product that's going to record your steps, but anytime that you go up and down a thing, it's going to be so inaccurate? I mean, people want to know their steps. Like, this is an important feature of your technology, right? So common sense will tell you that you cannot manipulate it. You're actually going to have to take a step. So when I saw that, and Richard Green actually said, I tried to manipulate it in all different ways, pretend like I was doing a step and not actually taking a step, and it did not record a step. In that regard, he was much more credible than Guarino, and that's a real problem. I mean, that's a real problem with their case, I think, and it should be highlighted. And I don't think Jackson, by the way, highlighted that in the closing argument, but
he didn't.
He was limited, obviously.
Yeah, he was very limited.
But that's a that was very compelling when I heard that. I mean, it was like, if there's actual steps, I mean, give me a break that it's going to, record it up and down. And there's like, he just is assuming that there's no test he did on that. Like, it was just him guessing. And Richard Green actually said he tested it.
Right.
So right away, that was, that's a real problem.
Guarino testified that, what did he say? That he was on a street that the GPS shows he's on a street called Oakdale Street at that time. And he said, if you look on Google Earth, there's a 50-foot drop on Oakdale Street. So I did this crazy thing called journalism, where I just got in my car and I went to Oakdale Street and I filmed myself driving down it, because I've never been on this street. And I go down the street and it is the flattest street you've ever seen in your life. And so he's lying about even that. And it's like, and I had 3 phones on me, and I had an iOS, I had a 12, an iPhone 12, a 13, and a 14, because John had a 12. And I had all the Apple Health data, and I was in the passenger seat, moving the phones up and down, just like you said, maybe he was doing this. And no flights of stairs were registered, 0. And so it's like, I don't care what the GPS says. Okay. GPS was also testified. Green said that could be off. That is a 3-minute. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whatever. And more, even if the GPS is accurate, they still don't have an answer for why that phone went up and down 3 flights of stairs. They don't, because Karen Reed does not have a basement in a Lexus as big as that vehicle was. It did not have any flights of stairs in it. Okay. And so they cannot, to this day, the GPS does not explain why it went up and down 3 flights of stairs. Yeah. And so that means to me, he's in the house, which means that she's completely innocent. It's freaking, like I said, it's Apple, dude. It's the industry standard for this stuff. There's people whose entire careers, like personal trainers, are based around Apple Health data being accurate. Like every fatso out there, who has to prove to their personal trainer that, look, I did all my steps today, could just manipulate it by getting in the car.
Stop calling the name? Can you stop calling
no, but just get in the car and go down Oakdale Street, and be like, look at, I climbed a goddamn mountain today, look at me. So,
no, you're right. That's a real problem. I think that should be highlighted definitely in closing argument for sure. I mean, like it's unanswerable. Like it's really, they didn't have any answer for it. Guarino just guessed. Oh yeah, it must have been.
It must have been. Yeah. There was a lot of guessing. It just did, which is my favorite line from the whole trial. That was a Trooper Paul answer about how the phone got under. It just did. Right. It just did, I've got another dono here from a couple more for you. They say $6 here from Cross Examinesia. Brother, I know you can't do case-related research as a juror, but if you see some of the big issues in the investigation, could you look at resources about general police investigation rules, etc., not trial specific? I don't understand what.
The answer is no. You are not allowed to do any research outside of the courtroom. Everything that you are allowed to use your common sense. That's what you're allowed to bring in with you to the courtroom. But everything else, any other information, any sort of way to think about things or how police protocol or policy are done, you're not allowed to do any of that. You only have to base it what you see in the courtroom.
And let's see, when in Michigan, can jurors go back and ask to read transcripts or, listen to testimony from the trial during deliberations?
So it's funny. I never had a jury ask that because my closing arguments are just so amazing that they just right away. No, but I haven't. They've come back with questions. But I believe that the rule is that they would be able to have certain testimony played back to them. So it could be played back to them. Yeah, that's what I believe the rule is. But I never had it happen in any of my cases or trials. So I'd have to actually do the research on that to give you a clear answer. But I do know in jurisdictions you are allowed to have some of the testimony played back to you.
Yeah, because it was a big problem in this trial. I bring this up because there was so much testimony that contradicted other testimony, but it happened weeks apart. Like there's parts of, Brian Albert's Michael Lank's report says that Caitlin Albert left at 12:15, but here's Brian Albert and Nicole Albert testifying 4 weeks later that actually she left at 1:45. But unless you literally wrote that down in your notebook, then you didn't, like there's just so much where you have to go back, and it's like, I don't understand. It's for people. We're assuming that these jurors didn't watch a second of pretrial, don't follow my channel, don't read any of this shit, as they shouldn't, and which means they're going into this blind, which means that they don't know shit about this. So like everything, they just took a 10-week crash course in the Karen retrial. And if it's not in their goddamn notebooks, it's like it never happened. They can't go back and listen to it, which I think is wild.
That's why I think in certain jurisdictions you are allowed to play back some of the testimony. Yeah,
as you should be able to, because I think it's just ridiculous.
It's hard to digest everything and keep everything straight.
Yeah. We got let's see, $15 from Kristen says brother Counsel is a consummate professional with a side of snark. I love him. Question: what is brother Counsel's assessment on Jennifer McCabe as a witness?
I think that it definitely looks like there's parts that were rehearsed. It definitely looks like there was rehearsed parts. It definitely looks like she was combative. You always try to tell your witnesses, even when it's a tough witness, to not fight with the lawyers, not come across as like you're trying to prove anything. You're supposed to be just a witness. And I know that she's been, accused of things, and, people think that she's part of the cover up or conspiracy, whatever. But she has to come across as a regular run of the mill soccer mom with no agenda here. And, that's kind of what you're trying to get her come across as. And you saw that she definitely had a lot of fight in her. And anytime you're seeing a fight, you're like, oh, you want a certain outcome in this case, don't you? Mm-hmm. And once you have that, so then it shows that this witness is biased. And therefore, once she's biased, how do you know what to trust? So
see, I kind of disagree with that. I mean, I hate to defend Jennifer McCabe of all people on here, but to me, the way she handled it was her only play, because she had, like, if you were truly innocent, if Jennifer McCabe was truly innocent and she was some victim of some smear campaign by the dastardly Turtle Boy and Alan Jackson and Karen Reed, and we all conspired to frame her and smear her and label her as a murderer, and she's actually totally innocent, she's this nice soccer mom, right? Wouldn't you be outraged? Wouldn't you be angry? Wouldn't you like look forward to this opportunity to get in that chair and tell Alan Jackson to go fuck himself?
Yeah, but again, you're right, but this is not your trial. You're not on trial now. I mean, even though you kind of are in the
feels that way. Feels that way.
No, you're right. You're kind of on trial, but really you're not. Really, it's Karen Reed on trial, and no one's charged you with anything. So you're right. You've kind of been dragged through this whole drama yourself, and that's true. And you could, like who was on the stand that started crying about the harassment?
That was Allie McCabe.
Allie McCabe. Okay, that was much more credible in my mind. Like her emotions just came out, and like I've been dealing with this harassment, and it's just, and you kind of felt for her. I think that
I did not.
Maybe you didn't because you're a little bit more.
Because I see you right through her bullshit. She's her mother's daughter.
That could be, but I think, and again, I was an objective just watching the trial, and I see this girl who's being dragged into this thing. I don't know if she's a part of it. I don't know if she's not, but and it did not look rehearsed, that those tears, and I thought that to the jury that can come across as more honest than other stuff that I saw. So yes, I understand that Jennifer McCabe, you know, she's not going to just sit there and just take it all and say, you know, you shouldn't have acted this way. You know, it's, of course she's going to get a little bit like that, but you know, she's on the stand for a long time. You know, like there was parts that it's a very tough witness. It's, you know, it's hard to really, you know, it's very tough.
I think that she made the Karen Read is guilty people like me feel more solid in their opinions. Like, yes, look at how defiant she's being. Look what she's doing. She's giving it to them. Like, they fucking loved her performance, and we hated it. Like, we were just like, see, look at her. She's cold as ice. She's fucking evil. Look at her lying like that. Look how angry she's getting. All she did was make people feel more entrenched in their opinions about her. Like, that's how she came across. Whereas I think somebody like Colin Albert, I think both sides can agree, was a fucking disaster for them. Like, he was a disaster. Like, for him to get up there and say, never been in a fight before, and then boom, we got 3 videos of Colin getting in fights. Like, nobody believes that. Literally nobody believes that, Colin. I don't know why they called him as a witness. I still don't understand that one.
Yeah, well, they probably want, I mean, as a prosecution, you probably wanted to like just get everybody on the stand and just, you know, everyone will just kind of say their story. So you can tell the jury, look, we put everybody on the stand to tell you their story. But yeah, I mean, that's,
yeah. We got another one here from, let's see here. From TJ says, I watched the 𝗪𝗏 and 𝗵𝗏 episode and was in awe that brother Counsel didn't snap once. It was truly a masterclass in patience. Well done. Any thoughts on that?
yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of, you know, people have been saying. That's why people want to watch it, because they don't know how you can just have a respectful conversation with them. Again, I haven't had really any interaction with them. The only interaction I've had with them, I didn't see anything from their channels or anything, was from some Twitter, some tweets. And they're like just attacking me on the tweets. And I'm like, hey, let's have a show about it. And you know, because I can't get anybody else to do it. And they jumped on board and we did it. So but yeah, I mean, like that's just who I am. Like, I'm not going to just talk over you and call you an idiot. You know, that's the way that I logically think about things. I rationally argue things. And, you know, that's just what I do every day. You know, every day you can be lawyers, especially in litigation, because that's a lot of what I do. We're always arguing with each other. And if you take things personally, if you just try to trash the other side, it doesn't work out for you. So, I mean, definitely not in the courtroom. So this is kind of what I've learned over the course of my practice, that you got to get up there and very calmly, as much as your like blood is boiling at the time, you have to very calmly explain to the judge why the other side is full of it. And, you know, so now maybe some of the practice.
For now, they are not calling you a grifter. You're like grifter alt, kind of like grifter light. But that, I mean, 𝗵𝗏 made a tweet basically explaining how it's going. He basically, like, if he can convince you that Karen Read is guilty, then you're not a grifter. If he can't convince you that Karen Read is guilty, then you are a grifter. It's just that simple. Like, basically, you have to agree with everything 𝗵𝗏 says, or you are a grifter. I'm glad that that's the crash course of grifting in a nutshell.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, because I mean, if you notice what happened, I think he actually conceded to me that there was reasonable doubt. I think at one point maybe it just kind of slipped out of his mouth, because we were like talking about the ARC experts. We were going in circles because Kate kept saying, yeah, well, they were only given a very limited amount of evidence. And every time I'd say, well, what weren't they given and why is that important? And then every single thing wasn't important. And then we kept going in circles there a little bit. And then I think actually Kevin kind of said for a minute, well, I understand what brother Counsel is saying, that maybe there's some doubt there. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. If
this disagree,
yeah, it's like that's the whole point. It's like, I don't understand how anyone could sleep at night. Like, I don't understand how anyone could be 1000% convinced that she did it. Like, even the biggest hater out there has to know that, like, maybe she didn't. You know, maybe she didn't. And like, how could anyone sleep at night knowing like that I convicted a woman of something that like I'm not 100% sure of? Like, I just don't understand how people can be that cruel to anyone else.
That's exactly the thing, because I think people don't understand also, like, when you're talking about this case, you can be convinced of Karen Read's guilt. You could be. This is the law. You can be convinced of her guilt. But if you have one reasonable doubt that she didn't do it, then your verdict has to be not guilty. So it's like, do you understand what reasonable doubt means? Do you understand what it means?
I don't think they do.
No, I think a lot of people don't. They're like, yeah, but she probably did it because how can you believe the conspiracy? That's what they do. They say, well, I don't believe the conspiracy, so therefore that must mean that she's guilty. And what I'm trying to do on my what?
would you agree that the defense's biggest failing at the closing arguments was not articulating that? Because they didn't talk about that. They tried to convince you at the closing that yes, this conspiracy happened. Here's how it happened. Whereas if they said what you just said there about like, you just need to think one of these things. This is what reasonable doubt is. If you think any of these things might be true that we've brought up, that the Google search happened, that the 𝗪𝗃 experts are right, just one, that in and of itself is reasonable doubt, and you have to vote not guilty.
Exactly. That's what, and that's exactly what I've said in my channel from once this case was finished. I saw the evidence, and actually even before the case was finished, I was talking about like what the strategy should be for the defense. I thought that initially their strategy should just be that the prosecution hasn't proven their case. They just haven't proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And that absolutely, I think you're 100% right, doctor, that they should have stressed a lot more that there's just so much questions about what happened here. Forget about, maybe you don't want to believe the conspiracy. Okay. Maybe you don't want to be like one of those people, but I can tell you this, I don't know what happened. And there's a lot of reasons why I don't know what happened. 𝗪𝗃 experts, the registering, the steps, all that stuff. And that should all be lumped on one side to show why there is reasonable doubt and they didn't prove their case. And yeah, and I know that Alan Jackson was, he was limited to 1 hour, but yeah, I felt like, the way that and I kind of show this, that you go through the evidence. I think you've seen it, some of my slides on that. You go through the evidence and say, look, there's just so much reasonable doubt screaming at you. You just can't convict this person.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely agree with you, by the way, on that.
Yeah. I mean, I love lawyer. That's what a lot of people say. I should have gone to law school. I'm pretty good arguing. I'm like my cousin Vinny. I'm pretty good arguing. I win all the Thanksgiving arguments, but it's just actually getting around and doing it. That's the hard part. But, I mean, I'm 43. Maybe there's still time, but I feel like I found my niche doing what I'm doing now. So, and honestly, I'd be bored with a lot of stuff. I mean, just a lot of legal, looking up case law. A lot of that shit just bores me.
I got to tell you, a lot of the stuff that we do is not in front of, and not in court. Like you're sitting on your computer researching a lot, writing a lot. That
would not interest me as much as other stuff. So yeah. We got another one here from, this is from Lacey, says, please tell brother counsel, am I Israel Kai? I don't know what that means. Okay.
Yeah, I'm Yisrael Chai. Yeah, it's what the nation of Israel lives on. That's
okay. Excellent. Yeah. Also, please join the Meredith O'Neill and I for a live X Space Thursday at 7:00 on my X account at Lacey J Meeks. Come with questions and sending Meredith O'Neill some love. P.S. Go Bucks. Boo. Okay. Then we have one here from Laura. Says, no, this is from Christy rather. Says, brother counsel, what does your wife think about us taking all your free time? Please tell her we are grateful. You do this from home? Is that are you at home right now? Is that
no? This is my office. But my office is very close to home.
Okay.
My office is like 5-minute drive. So
okay.
If I'm going to do something at home, and I got a bunch of kids also, and they're older, so they're going to be around. They may be making some noise, so it's just a 5-minute drive. I come to my office, and it's just better done here. Yeah, my wife's awesome. I mean, she's allowing me to do this stuff, and a lot of it's, being a lawyer and having your own firm is busy enough. And but I started this because
what kind of law do you practice? I didn't even ask.
Yeah, so mostly what I do now is civil. So I do personal injury and civil rights. I still do a little bit of criminal defense, but my bread and butter is personal injury and civil work. So commercial litigation, things like that. So I'm much more in the civil arena now than I am in the criminal case. My brother does or used to do a ton of criminal cases. I used to join him for that. And that he kind of also moved into civil rights. My brother, who's also
your actual brother.
No, my real brother. Yeah,
right.
Solomon Radner. You can search him, and he's been on a few very interesting cases as well. So yeah, I mean, my wife's awesome. Yeah.
Does this case make you wish you did criminal law? Like I mean, isn't it the most interesting shit?
This is not every case is as interesting as this. Okay.
True.
For every interesting case, you got a lot of the very not interesting and not enjoyable clients.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I've spent a lot of time in courtroom, and most of them is just degenerates being brought up. Okay, so what did he do? Oh yeah, he got caught with some cocaine. Oh yeah. Okay. So what's he on probation for? Okay. Are you gonna do it again? Okay. We're gonna let you go this time. You're on double secret probation this time. It's a lot
exactly.
of shit,
Exactly. So there's a lot of that's not, and the civil work actually, what I find with the civil work is much more of a chess game. It's much more methodical and thought out from before. Now, of course, you have these high profile criminal cases as well, but most of the criminal cases are not as complicated and as work heavy as this. But the civil case is much more of a chess game, which I like because it challenges me and makes me think a lot more critically about each step every way, as the case progresses, depositions, what are you going to try to get out, so that's what I like more. And I'm finding it to be, it's the only thing is that you're doing less trials in the civil work, you're doing a lot less trial work. So, but trials are very stressful. I mean, they're very hard and stressful and time consuming. So, I still love them, but I'm getting a lot further away from trying cases because people used to ask me to try cases all the time when I was younger. I mean, I'm still young, but when I was younger, I'd love to just jump into a trial, do a trial, try a case, and get some experience and have fun on my feet and do what I need to do. But it's very stressful and it's very hard work. So I'm kind of pulling back from that a little bit.
So we got $100 here from 𝗵𝗡𝗄, and they say, would love to hear how you both would approach the next trial differently from the defense perspective. Let me start by saying, like I just said, I would focus on the closing, particularly the reasonable doubt of it all, and just remind them that and I would put less emphasis on like, here's what we think happened. And I would more emphasize that there's only two possible scenarios here, is that either Karen Read did it or he went inside and they did it. Okay. We don't care who did it inside. That's not our job to find out. Right. But him going in the house means that Karen Read is innocent. And that's the whole point here. And I would just focus on that and say it like Brian Higgins might have done it for this reason. And this person might've done it for this reason. I would just point out, it doesn't fucking matter. He went inside the house and so therefore they did it. And I would focus on that in the second trial.
So very similar to what you said. I think exactly what we were speaking about before. I would much more concentrate on the fact that the Commonwealth is just simply not going to be able to prove their case. And I would say, almost like what you said, I would say, look, either Karen Read did it or we don't know what happened. And I think there's going to be, by the end of this case, or definitely in the closing, you're going to say, the bottom line is we don't know what happened. I wish we did, but we don't know what happened. And if you don't know what happened, then that's reasonable doubt. And, I think it's always going to be tough when you're telling the jury either him or her. Instead of that, say it's either her, what the Commonwealth says, or we don't know. And it could be a million possibilities. Like as the ARCA expert said, there can be an infinite amount of possibilities how this happened. And that's exactly what he said. And then you just put that up there on your closing, slide.
They love to bring that one up, the infinite possible, because it's like, so you're telling me there's a chance she did it. Like the anti-KRE people love that line. That's their favorite line.
Right, but it works against them. Like
I know. They're not smart people. They're not smart people.
Yeah, right. It could be Karen Read. It could be not enough.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that means what you think it means, dear. Yeah, and yes, like he said that. Yeah, anything that could have caused him to fall and hit his head is a possibility. So yes, getting hit by a car would be a possibility, but unfortunately, you've locked yourself into the sideswipe theory, right? And by doing so, that is no longer possible. Like, yes, if you had said that he got run over head first and just back, that might be a possibility then. Other things wouldn't align if that happened, like the tail light and other things wouldn't align. But that would, the head injury would make sense. But unfortunately, you got locked into this sideswipe thing, which would not cause his shoes to come off. Which, remember they said that about the shoes?
Yeah,
they said, so you're saying that you can get knocked out of your shoes. Yes, but not in a sideswipe. But you can. But yeah, I guess you can. Oh, gotcha. Right. It's like, that's not what the gotcha you think it is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why one of the things that I pointed out in like my coincidence is that how did that shoe end up right on the curb when it's impossible that sideswipe knocked his shoe off? How did the shoe get there?
And why didn't the Canton police find it? Why did the Canton police find it? They
didn't find anything. I mean,
what the jury told me about them? I'm like, how did you guys get over the fact that the Canton police didn't find any taillight, but the state police found 45 pieces over the next 3 weeks?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
And he's like, basically, we just considered that the Canton police were completely incompetent Keystone cops that just are absolute morons. Like, because that's the only conclusion that you'd be able to reach about why 5 members of the Canton Police Department did not find any of this stuff. But then the state police come along after 18 inches of snow has fallen, and boom, they find it all.
I mean, look, it's not such a question once you see how they collected the blood and how they cleaned away the snow.
Yeah, it was that,
Right.
and that reinforced their opinion that these guys are completely incompetent. But the state police are not incompetent. The Canton police are, and the state police are not. And that's how they ultimately reached this conclusion that, oh, that's why they missed it all. They're just completely incompetent. How about that? We got here, Robin sends $5 and says, what is brother Counsel's opinion on what Bev should do about the deleted Sallyport video?
That's a real issue. I mean, that's talking about this motion that was just filed.
Mhm.
Okay. And there are motions that like you just filed because you want to have something on record. This is a serious issue. Okay. And I'm not just saying this because I'm on your channel. This is a serious issue because when you have Brady violations like this, and I mean, this is infuriating. Like, you get a copy of a Sallyport video in the middle of trial. Like, you get in the middle of, like, what happened? Explain to me how this happens, that we're in discovery for months and months and months and months. You have that surveillance video, and I get that in the middle of trial. And now you get another one after trial, by the way. That's what the motion said. And then the original, the forensic, they didn't do a forensic or proper forensic digital download. So the original is gone. I mean, this is really strange. And therefore they're asking that this case be dismissed. So it's not just a simple, oh yeah, this is just going to be denied because, you know, you're acting like a defense attorney saying that it should be dismissed. This is an issue. Okay. Like, there's going to have to be a very good explanation about what happened there. So I
know you say that, and other people say that, and Better said it too. It's like, but I know how this story, it's not an issue because of who has the gavel. If Beverly Kearney doesn't give a shit, then it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, I mean, look, getting into whether Judge Kearney makes, just Kearney, makes certain rulings I know that people don't like. There were some rulings that I thought that she could have made against Karen Reed that she didn't.
Minor ones, though, that didn't really.
Yeah, well, I mean,
much, right?
like Marie Russell. I don't know if Dr. Marie Russell had, she had to let her in the first trial. Like, I think I would have been. I was actually surprised that she allowed her in because it was so last minute. She contacted Alan Jackson in the middle of the trial. So like she could have very easily, let her out of the trial and then not let her in the trial. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I have to see what the prosecution responds. Like, I have to see what they're going to say. I like to give everyone the benefit of the doubt until I see what explanation they possibly could have for this. And then we'll see. But it's just like, this is like another thing. Anytime you get like dig more, there's like more questions that like need to get answered. So, because
I've been following this since April of 2023, and every time I think that, they can't do something more unethical, they do. Like, the Canton Police Library video from 1237 to 1239 is just missing. And somehow that's acceptable. Like, the IT guy goes, I gave him the whole file. Louis Jutchers testified that. And they gave him a CD. It was like this. He's like, are you fucking kidding me? I didn't give it to you in the CD-ROM. What is this thing? So you burn the file onto a CD, and God knows what you took out of it. And that the exact time when Karen Reed goes through that library intersection is just gone. And somehow that's acceptable. Like, that to me is wild. Like, all this shit that, like, you didn't interview the plow driver. You didn't I interviewed the plow driver before the state police did. I'm actually the reason that they interviewed the plow driver is because what he said to me was so damning. And he mentioned being interviewed by the FBI. That's what really got their attention. 2 days later, Michael Proctor and 𝗫𝗎𝗄𝗃 suddenly decide, oh, actually, we should probably talk to this guy. But they had no interest in actually hearing what he had to say. They were just trying to, if you read their interview with him, they were just trying to build a case against me. This is how the witness intimidation angle started going. They start asking him, so did he get you to, did he make you say these things? Did he, was he taping you? Tell us, was he being pushy? This and that. Maybe you didn't see this. Maybe you didn't see that. And he's like, he sticks to it. That guy is a very convincing witness. And he was, no, this is what happened. And I saw a Ford Edge there. And this is how I knew this whole thing was so fucked up, is that, like, when they found out about this Ford Edge, the Lucky Loughran saw, right, parked next to a place where a dead cop is found 3 hours later allegedly hit by a car, mind you. They believe this guy's hit by a car. A car's parked next to him. And I don't give a shit if it's a Ford Edge. We get very hung up on the make and model of the car, right? The fact that it's not a Lexus LX 570 is the most important part of this. The fact that there's any car parked next to John O'Keefe's body, allegedly where it is at 3 a.m, that is the most important witness in this whole goddamn trial. And they have no interest whatsoever in finding this guy. That's how I knew how fucked up this was.
Yeah, I mean, lucky law for and you know, for what it's worth, they didn't. And wasn't there the defense investigator who contacted him first? Also, wasn't there like
because the initial report from Michael Proctor said that he spoke with Michael Trotta, the head DPW guy, and Michael Trotta told him that the Canton DPW does not plow Fairview Road. So he went out of his way to lie, because I tracked down Michael Trotta and I interviewed him, and he said he never said that. And so that Michael Proctor literally lied in a report about an interview with Michael Trotta, telling him that nobody plowed Fairview Road, specifically so that he would not have to go out and find the plow driver, because he knew the plow driver wasn't going to say what he needed him to say. He was going to say the opposite. So it's not necessarily what they did do to frame Karen Reed. It's what they didn't do. They didn't speak to the plow driver. They didn't speak to Colin Albert. They didn't speak to Caitlin Albert. They didn't separate the witnesses. They gave them time to get their story straight. That's how they framed her, is by not doing what they normally do. They didn't search the house. They didn't do what they normally do.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't understand why that house wasn't searched. And this one we spoke about. Well, yeah, I know you can, but I'm just saying, like, you know, this one of the conversations that came up in the Kate and Kevin context. You know, I was just picking out some. I wasn't going to go through all the evidence of the
probable cause thing. That part when you guys talked about.
Yeah, how, like, well, just because somebody ends up dead on your front lawn, does that mean that they should search your house? If you invited them to your house. Yeah,
I mean, this is great precedent to set for future warning people out there. If you ever murder someone inside your house, all you got to do, you don't even have to. Back in the day, you had to chop them up and throw them in a wood chipper or something, right? And throw them in the ocean and make them disappear. You don't have to do that anymore. You just throw them on your lawn. You murder them inside. You throw them on the lawn outside, and it's not probable cause to go in your house, because you can just blame it on a driver. Like, pick one. Anyone will do.
Yeah, but but I think the clincher here is that also that they invited him to the house.
And they invited him, right?
You invite someone to your house at 12 a.m. He ends up dead on your front lawn at 12:30. You don't have probable cause to search that house? You think you know how low the bars? Like, they were saying, okay, so you know how low the bars for probable cause for Karen Reed to get arrested? I'm like, yeah, sure. You can, you know, probable cause. You can arrest this cup, you know, with probable cause. So if you're using the same standard, well, then that house should be searched also under probable cause, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, you can't, and then they you know, you play these two games, like, well, the fact that there's no DNA evidence, or the fact that there's no Chloe DNA evidence, that means that it wasn't the abrasions on his arm wasn't from a dog, right? That's just insurmountable. The fact that there's a lack of DNA from Chloe, right? Remember that?
She kept saying that on the
So yeah. I was like, well, the lack of DNA, what about the lack of bruising? Isn't the lack of bruising insurmountable that it wasn't a car?
Right.
So, like, you're only going to play it, the lack of DNA, and I'm only going to concentrate that, not the lack of bruising. Like, you can't handle both ways.
I like the way you handle that, because my response to that is usually different. My response to that is usually Michael Proctor's the one that swabbed it, and we don't trust Michael Proctor at all. He could have wiped his ass with it and sent it to them. But that's not as effective as an argument as what you just said, because you pointed out, you know, that, like, oh, so you like that, you know, but you don't like this, huh? You don't like that. Like, where is this?
Same logic. Same logic, right?
It's the same logic, and it's reasonable doubt. Whereas my argument more goes towards, like, well, it's a conspiracy, you know, but I can't prove Michael Proctor wiped his ass with that, right? I'm just pointing out that this guy, who is clearly not a trustworthy person, who's a dishonest person, is the person we're supposed to trust honestly did this. And I don't think he's earned that benefit of the doubt. And like I said, even in his text messages, right, with his buddies, what were his friends' initial instincts when hearing about this? Oh, the homeowner is going to catch some shit. Yeah. That's what they said, because that's what anyone's initial reaction would be when a dead body's on your lawn. Oh, the homeowner is going to catch some shit. Nope. Why nope? because he's a Boston cop. That's
and
why
that was that night. It wasn't
That was
like
the-
that. Was that
it was
night,
that
right?
I believe it was the night of the 29th. Yeah.
Yeah.
That night. Yeah.
It was the night of the 29th, and I pointed this out also. I was just saying, like, that's why they didn't search that house, because he actually texted the reason he didn't search the house because he's a Boston cop.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, you took that out of context.
They didn't. You didn't know. There's nothing out of context about that. It was literally the comment was homeowner's going to catch some shit for this, right? Nope. And he didn't just stop there. He explained why. Nope. Because he's a Boston cop.
Right.
Otherwise, he would have caught some shit. If he was a fucking engineer, if he was a goddamn trash man, he would have likely. If you or I, we all would have caught some shit for that. But because he's a Boston cop, he will not catch some shit for that. He put it in writing.
Right. And I think that what they're trying to say is, well, no, because you're supposed to read it as nope. And then also here's some additional information that I thought you might be interested in.
Yes.
That he's a Boston cop.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're two separate
No,
thoughts.
because of a different reason.
It's all
But he
part of
also
the-
happens to be a Boston cop.
Right. It's all part of the same thought. Like it's connected, and it just and they know it too. They know that they're not that stupid. They've read this stuff and they know what that means. Again, a lot of these people, I don't want to get into them, but they're only taking the position that Karen Reed's guilty just to be the opposite of me. That's all it's doing. So, got a couple more here to read here. It says, $5 from Laura that says, Shalom, brother Counsel, has the patience of a rabbi. I love Dr. Turtleboy for all he is. Brother has no shtick, a real straight shooter. Your mother must be proud. So there
Okay,
you go.
thank
People
you.
like you. The Turtle Writers like you. We got 25 from Nancy Joe. It says, what does brother Counsel think about the socks? Where are the socks?
John O'Keefe's socks?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know. Where are they? Did they not come out in evidence? I guess
I don't know.
Right?
Some people ask the randomest questions. The people by the end of the show, I'll get some turtle chat about the blood. They always ask about the blood. Why isn't anyone talking about the blood? The socks is another thing that people have recently started. I don't know much about the socks. I don't really focus that much on the socks. Much more focused on
I don't know.
the lack of bruising on the arm.
Lack of bruising on the arm. I mean, that really does it.
Yeah.
And then it's
So we got here $10 from Clara and says, curious if brother Counsel felt as though he lost brain cells on that show. Yeah. What was that like? I mean, how do you keep your composure like that?
Okay. First of all, I deal with a lot of, whether it's clients or whether it's other attorneys, you see a lot in my day, and sometimes judges, but you encounter a lot, and then hopefully it doesn't take too much out of your brain. So yeah, these guys, Kate and Kevin, I think, like, generally speaking, I would say they're harmless. I can have a conversation with them, and we can talk about things, and I was fine. I don't mind.
Carrie B sends $20 and goes, what does brother Counsel think of my witness intimidation charges if he's following?
That was the same question that Kate asked me, right? I don't know.
Well, she asked you, do you condone it? Do you condemn witness intimidation? Which is,
right. I said, I don't know what the doctor has been accused of. I haven't seen any videos about it, and I haven't done any research on the First Amendment, specifically with what actions that he did. So I can't give any legal opinion about it until I know what he did. If I see the videos, and then I can analyze it under a First Amendment, research. So that's what I need to do. So
are you interested in learning about it?
I mean, I got a lot going on.
Yeah, I'm sure there's only so many hours in a day. I know. Let me just tell you, it is.
If you guys want me to give an opinion about it, send me what you did, and let me see what the filings, and I'll take a look at it. But
it's one of the most fascinating First Amendment cases you'll ever see. We have a very broad statute here for witness intimidation in Massachusetts. In most states, and I've researched the witness intimidation statutes in all 49 other states. They're all pretty similar. They say something to the effect of, you cannot threaten a witness with physical violence in order to get them not to testify or to change their testimony. You also can't offer a gift to them in order to influence their testimony, and I think we all agree that's good law. Like that, our courts should not be run by the mob. Witnesses should be able to testify without fear of violence. Totally get it. We have a very different law here in Massachusetts. Our statute says that you cannot cause physical harm, emotional harm, or economic harm to anyone who is a witness, potential witness, family member of a witness, somebody who announces that they plan on attending a court proceeding, or a cop. So any of those people, they're all covered on. So if I have made I'm being charged with, I think, 10 counts of felony witness intimidation, right? Police came to my house. The same cops who I've accused of, Brian Tully actually came and personally arrested me at my house. And the 10 people I'm being charged with have all told the grand jury and the police that I caused them emotional harm. Not one of them is alleging that I've physically threatened them, because I haven't. And I'm not a violent person, but they all say that my show, like me talking about them, me wearing a shirt like this, that Jennifer McCabe, she said this when she applied to get a harassment prevention order against me, which was denied on First Amendment grounds. She said that, is there any way you can do something so he can't blog about me, because he's really upsetting me here. My kids are crying. I'm upset. We can't go out. People say mean things to me now. I'm a pariah in the community. And that's the effect I have caused these people emotional harm. And they believe this emotional harm was designed to prevent them from testifying against me. So that's kind of like without even playing any of the tapes, that is the allegation that's been made against me. And that's why I've been indicted.
Well, again, I didn't see the statute. I'm just going to take your word for it. And then I'm just going to rattle what I'm thinking off the top of my brain and the top of my head. And that is that I can't quantify emotional harm. It seems extremely ambiguous and almost unconstitutional, because physical harm is very understandable.
Yep.
Giving gifts is very clear what it means. What does emotional harm mean? I don't even know what it means in a legal sense, in a legal context, to be able to apply this law, which would mean that it should be void, because that provision of the law should be void because it's ambiguous and unconstitutional. Now, again, I'm just taking your word for it, and I don't know if there's been any sort of case law explaining what emotional harm even means.
It's never been.
It sounds to me like it's so overly broad.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Like, I have anxiety now. Like, my heart rate just went up a little bit. Does that mean that I'm now emotionally, I have a claim of a witness intimidation?
Well, Colin Albert told the grand jury, they said, how does he make you feel? He makes me feel sad, paranoid, and embarrassed, I think he said. And that's it. So that's how I've affected Colin. I made him sad, and I'm literally indicted. And I wish I could say I was exaggerating. I'll give you all the documents. I'll show you all this stuff. I have nothing to hide. Everything I've allegedly done, I've done on video, on my show, in person, asking people questions. And it just, they found the law has existed for like 30 years in Massachusetts, and it's never been used in this way because it's ridiculous, obviously. So I'm not worried. I'm not particularly worried about my charges. I have two very good attorneys. This law is unconstitutional, and even so, I haven't violated the statute even as it exists now. So I'm not the least bit worried about it. The hard part's being on bail. Like, that's the hard part, is because you're constantly one, if you drink a beer and get pulled over, one violation. Well, it's just a bail revocation. Like, I've been to jail for 60 days and I've never been convicted of a crime, but I've been to jail for 60 days because that's what bail revocation does. Like, and so being out on bail in general is a dangerous thing. And that's why, we want to get these to go away as quickly as possible, simply because I don't want to be on bail. It's scary being on bail.
Is your attorney on that, Mark Betterow?
He's my second attorney. I initially hired Tim Bradel. But clearly when I took on this case, it was like very similar to Karen. You hire a very skilled, competent, Boston-based attorney, and then you realize you're in over your head. You realize, holy shit, there's a lot to this. This is 19 charges with 10 different people, and it's not enough to just have one. You need another set of eyes on it. And Mark, I found on the YouTube circuit, on the YouTube streets. And, I was just watching him on Young Jerks and other channels. I'm like, this guy's sharp. And so I contacted him, and I had him on my show. And then I reached out to him, and I'm like, are you barred in Massachusetts? And he said, no, but I could be pro-hocked in from Massachusetts. And adding him to my team has completely changed the dynamic. I think Mark has turned me somehow into a sympathetic figure. But with his Betterow letters, have you read the Betterow letters?
I've heard about them. I think I read a little bit. I didn't do a deep dive into them. I know people have been asking me to, to react.
You'll be fascinated by them, just from the phone extractions that we've received in this. Literally, plotting to set me up in writing with the state police and with the special prosecutor, like luring me over. It's a long story. I won't get into it, but it's been fascinating to read all these, and him putting this out there. People felt bad for me. They're like, holy shit, not only is he innocent, he got set up, and it's all black and white. Wow. So, you know, he's done what Alan Jackson has done for Karen Reed. And, you know, because I'm very, like, Tim Bradell is a very good lawyer, but this is too much for one lawyer. We need a second set of eyes, and I need someone in the YouTube streets. You know,
did he make this argument that the entire statute is unconstitutional on its face because of the overly broadness of emotional damage?
Yes, so that will be made obviously at trial, but some hurdles that we're gonna have to overcome. It's like that's more of an appeal thing. You know, you have to be that means you got to be convicted first, doesn't it? Right? Like, so like we're trying to find a way to get into the SJC without a conviction, because we need the SJC to ultimately rule that this law is unconstitutional.
Yeah, I mean, well, it can be an emotion. I mean, it can be an emotion to dismiss because it's unconstitutional. But they know what they're doing. But
they know what they're doing.
I don't have to tell them. But I just, the way that you explained it to me, at least, again, I don't know because I didn't read the statute, but so I'm really going blind here. So nobody should take this as legal advice or anything. But the way that you explained it seems extremely overbroad and therefore ambiguous and unconstitutional. So, and like you said, if this is the first case that was ever been brought under the statute, then there's probably not much case law that defines what emotional damage is, the extent of it, how long it's to last for, what type of effects it has to have on you. You know, it's
well, as you probably know, witness intimidation is usually like a supplemental charge. Like somebody gets charged with assault and battery or murder or attempted murder, and then, you know, witness intimidation is added on to that, you know, because you intimidated the person that you're charged with doing this crime to or whatever. Very rarely do you see a case in which witness intimidation is the charge. And that's the way it is in my case. It's like the charge. And that's why, like, nothing like this has ever happened.
I wonder why you feel like you're being targeted.
No, I can't imagine why. Yeah. So we have here 25 from Paula. It's a long one. So if you guys are going to send donos in like this, you got to keep them brief. I cannot read a long paragraph here. So I will just read this question. It says, because she asks a bunch of questions, so I'm just going to ask one. It says, should Karen get a dismissal with prejudice so that she knows that she cannot be charged again with this crime?
Ideally, that's what they want. I mean, that's what this motion is most likely going to be filed. And again, the motion that we saw that was just filed was just about the cost for the expert, but a motion is coming to dismiss, and obviously it's going to be with prejudice, and that's what the request is going to be.
You know, with prejudice means they cannot bring the charges back.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Motion dismissed with prejudice. Oh, so there could be, so if it was dismissed without prejudice, that would mean they could still charge her again after this.
Yeah.
Yeah, which would defeat the whole point of a motion to dismiss, because they would charge her.
Exactly. And yeah, one of the remedies for Brady violations is what they're arguing. And one of the remedies is a new trial. But they're obviously not going for that. They're going for the more drastic one, which is going to be a dismissal with prejudice.
Right. We got 10 from Jeffrey here. It says, brother, I live in Michigan, and I have an 11-year-old grandson whose civil rights are being violated. May I contact you about this?
Of course. Go to my website, Radner Law Group, and call the number, and you'll get an attorney to respond to your request.
You got a bunch of attorneys.
11 years old.
He said 11-year-old grandson whose civil rights are being violated.
Definitely, yeah. Call. We'll definitely do an intake.
Yep. Okay. So what I want to show you now, and again, if anyone else wants their messages read for Brother Counsel, you can set, or for me at the end. If you've sent the turtle chat already, I haven't read it. It's because it doesn't pertain to him. I will read it after I'm done with him. I want to be polite to my guest here, but not just cranking in the dough while he just sits there doing the grift. So what I want to show him now is a video that I'm pretty proud of. I'm not really like a video guy, but I'm not sure if you saw the video that I did on the lawn. Have you seen this video? I put this little thing together because a turtle rider went to Fairview Road during a recent snowstorm that we had and filmed it. And it's a 7-second video, but it just got me thinking a lot. And this is what it looked like. again, so this is like the lawn. Like when I see the lawn, I'm like, they expect us to believe that all these 8 different people went right by here and that this is what they saw and that there was a body on that lawn. Not a small body either. Like, so where was what?
Where's the flagpole? Where can you point to?
The flagpole would be right here. So here's the fire hydrant. The flagpole would be right here. His body was found right about here.
Yeah.
About 10 feet in between the fire hydrant and the flagpole. Again, I kind of block it a little bit with the words, but you can see it. There's the right here. So it would have been right here. John O'Keefe was not a small guy, 6'2", 270 pounds. And I would argue that the snow, if anything, illuminates the lawn, not just, makes it easier to see, not harder to see. And I would say that if 8 people went by here and there's a body on the front lawn, one of them's going to see it. Somebody's going to see something and say something, because that's irregular to see a body on the front lawn at that point. And this is a real weakness, I think. It's something that they didn't plan for, if this is indeed a conspiracy, is because how can you... They realize this is a weakness of their case, is that none of us saw a body. And so therefore they all need an explanation, right? And that's kind of what I did with this video, is put together an explanation. I went through all their testimony. There's 8 people that went by here. They were Matt McCabe, Jennifer McCabe, Julie Nagel, Sarah Levinson. That's 4, Tristan Morris, Caitlin Albert, Lucky Loughran, and Brian Higgins. And none of them saw a body, and they all need to be able to explain why they didn't see a body. And their stories, when we put them together, are just wild. So let's...
Where were your headlights pointed?
In front of me, in front of the truck.
I'm sorry?
In front of the truck.
And what were you able to see of the front lawn of the Albert residence that very first time you passed?
I was able to see the entire front lawn.
And about what time was it that you first passed 34 Fairview Road?
About 2:45.
Now, as you continued along past the driveway, did you continue to have all of those headlights on in front of you?
Yes.
And as you continued along, what were you able to see of that front lawn? How much of it?
A very large portion, almost to the front steps.
And now, when you were plowing,
almost to the front steps, the way he put that in there is like, yeah, I could see the whole lawn, like almost to the front steps. And I think this video shows that, oh yeah, like it illuminates. When you have your headlights on, it doesn't just go on the road. You see yards, you see people's yards, when you're driving down the street. When I'm driving down the street, any street, I'm well aware that I'm passing by houses. I can see what's on. When somebody has a shed in their front yard, I see it. You see things besides what is directly in front of you, right? And Lucky, has this truck he calls Franken truck.
Yeah,
and keep in mind, this witness is somebody who would be sympathetic towards the Alberts normally. He used to work for Chris Albert. He's a townie. He's lived there his whole life. He has every reason to favor the McAlberts, and he's just telling what he saw.
Where is your attention focused, sir?
My attention's focused in front of me and then to the sides.
Why would your attention be focused?
Oh, this is the best.
I am trying to be aware of any side traffic, any pedestrians, and God forbid, any animals.
That's my favorite line. This when you thought the guy couldn't be more likable. I'm looking for any side traffic, pedestrians, and God forbid any animals. God forbid. Lucky loves dogs. I love that line. But God forbid. God forbid.
Yeah.
And when you were passing the Albert residence, as you pass every home, what attention do you pay to the sides of the road and the lawns that are adjacent to the road?
I'm, again, making sure that there are no animals, no pedestrians, and making sure no one's coming out of their driveways, not expecting to see me.
And with regard to Exhibit 66, do you see the flagpole there?
Yes.
Is that something you had seen previously?
Yes.
And when you made that first pass by that residence at 2:45 in the morning, sir, with your headlights on, what, if anything, did you see on the front lawn?
There's the flagpole. There's the flagpole.
I saw nothing.
If there had been a 6'2", 200-pound man lying in the snow there, would you have seen it?
Objection. That got objected to for everyone. That question right there, which is such an important question to ask. You know, when they asked, okay, so you didn't see anything. All right, cool. But if a body was there, would you have seen anything? I interviewed him and he said, yes, he was emphatic. There's no way I would have missed it. But Bev didn't even allow that question to be asked. What do you think of that?
Yeah, she didn't allow a lot of that questions. Anytime they're asking any witness about, you know, if a 6'2" man, 220-pound, you know, anytime that they would say anything that has to do with John O'Keefe, like when they were talking to the 𝗪𝗏 experts, and they would say, if that, you know, if backing up would have hit a 6'2", 220-pound, you know, at any time that they would inject John O'Keefe into this equation at all, and there was an objection, she sustained the objection. I personally, as I was watching that, I was thinking about why is she not allowing that type of question to be asked. I didn't understand that. And I thought the question was proper, definitely on cross-examination.
You do. So that's what I was going to ask.
So I'll tell you why, because I think that this is where people, I think, make a little mistake. When you're talking about speculation, okay, I think that's really the basis of that objection there. You're speculating. You know, who says that there was a 6'2" guy lying on the ground? Like, why are you injecting that into the question? But I think that it's a fair question because that is facts that are in evidence, right? We know that there's John O'Keefe, that's the deceased. He's 6'2", 200. That there's evidence for that. And now I'm not asking you to speculate. What I'm asking you to is, if that person was there, would you have seen them? Not that. That's not a speculation because I'm not trying to guess whether the person was there. What I'm asking you to do is that if a person was there, would you have seen that person? Like if I ask you, if somebody asks you about this show and they ask you, if I were to ask you, if I had 6 certificates behind me instead of 5, would that be something that you'd be able to see during the show? And your answer would be yes, because I was watching him. I saw what was behind him. That's not, you're not speculating. You're saying, yeah, if he would have had 6, I would have seen it. I would have seen the 6. So that's not, I don't think, and that's why I think I didn't like a lot of Judge Kearney, the way that she really did not allow for much more room on cross-examination. I don't like that at all. I thought that she was really much more limiting the attorneys than what really the rules allow. And I think that's, I don't know what other attorneys felt about that, but that's something that I personally felt when I was watching this, that you got to give a lot more room on cross-examination, and she didn't.
Yeah, because if she knew what Adam Lally objected to that because he knew what Lucky Loughran was going to say. He's read my articles. He knows that Lucky Loughran is going to say, yes, I would have seen it. And he knows how damning that testimony would be. You know, because he's pretty insistent there. David Yanetti's like, so you scan the lawns? Oh yeah, I look all over. I got to make sure there's dogs, and I absolutely would have seen it. So by not being able to ask that question, Adam Lally is then able to say, well, you know, just because he didn't see a body doesn't mean there wasn't a body there. You know, he gets to still have that kind of out by not allowing, you know, that question. But now listen to, there's how Lucky describes it. And here's how the rest of them say it.
Call whether or not this was during conversation or music playing or anything like that in the cars driving away.
Yeah, it was chitter-chatter. You know, my wife was turned towards me, like turned in, talking to the girls behind me. I know at one point somebody was joking about, I don't know, peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something about bread. I forget what it was. And then I drove up the street.
And as you were driving up the street and away from residents' Fairview, what, if anything, did you observe normal on the side of the road, looking inside of the road?
I was not. I was focusing on the snow coming down, the windshield wipers, and driving up the street.
So they always thought I was focusing on the street. So I didn't, yeah, there might have been a body there, but I was too focused on the road. And my wife, what about your wife? Wouldn't she have seen it? Oh, luckily I don't remember much. Like I don't recall so much shit throughout my whole testimony. But what I do recall is that at that exact moment in time, after a night of drinking, I definitively remember that my wife was looking in my direction. I remember it like it was yesterday. They all remember that because this is again the problem with showing your cards before trial. The defense showed that they were going to highlight the fact that nobody saw a body on the lawn. So that gives the prosecution now a chance to prep these people and say, look, you all need to come up with a story about why you didn't see the body on the front lawn. So get your story straight.
So he was concentrating on in front of him, the street, the windshield wipers, the snow coming down, and out of his peripheral vision, he was able to see Jennifer McCabe turned. That he was definitely able to see out of his peripheral vision, but not a 6'2" man. But not a 6'2" man on on
That's
the
a
side
great,
with
that's a great point because Jennifer McCabe would be in his peripheral vision, right? Like, because
exactly.
it's even more so. Like she would be at his,
much more to the side, right?
she would be at his 3 o'clock, whereas John O'Keefe would be at
the
his
1
1
o'clock.
o'clock, and it would be. It's a great point. And again, so again, they have to come up with something. So he's got that.
Fair to say you didn't see anything in the yard or anything like that.
That's correct.
During the course of you walking out the door, heading to your Jeep, you didn't see anything out of the ordinary in the yard, correct?
No.
You certainly didn't see a body in the yard.
Of course not.
Now, you get in your car, and it's facing directly toward the flagpole, correct?
It's facing directly up the street.
So he claims, Higgins claims he was parked right here. Now I don't believe he was, because Ryan Nagel didn't see him parked there. It doesn't make any sense that he's parked there, but his story is he's parked right here by the mailbox. And so to get into his car, he's literally pointed right at the body, and he turns on his Jeep with its headlights on. It would have been like, boom, right there, body. And how does he explain his way out of not seeing the body?
Will be off to the 1 o'clock.
Right. So just a few degrees off to the right, the flagpole is, correct?
It's off to the right.
Just a few degrees.
I don't know how many degrees, but it's off to the right.
Well, you just said 1 o'clock. You're a former military guy, right?
I am.
Okay. 1 o'clock means 1 o'clock on watch. 12 o'clock is due north, or right in front of you. 1 o'clock is just a few degrees to the right, correct? That's what you meant.
At the 1 o'clock, yes.
Okay. So you didn't see a body when you got in your Jeep.
No, I did not.
Then you turned the engine on, correct?
And the wipers, yes.
And the lights.
Yes.
And the lights lit up everything in front of you, correct?
Yes.
Still didn't see a body, did you?
No, I did not.
Sitting in the driver's seat, you put the car in gear and begin to roll forward, right?
Yes.
But there was a plow on the ground that scraped for a foot, right?
Yes.
So you picked it back up?
Yes.
Looked out the windshield to make sure the plow was situated and continued to roll forward, correct?
I knew it was up when I continued to drive.
And as you continue to drive, you're looking ahead of you and probably to your left to make sure that there's no oncoming cars, right?
Well, I knew there was no oncoming cars. I was just driving forward.
Right. So your focus is directly in front of you.
On the road, yes.
And everything in your peripheral vision is right in front of you as well, correct?
Yes.
Nothing obstructing your view.
I mean, other than snow on the car.
Nothing obstructing your view outside, toward the lawn. When another car parked there.
No, I didn't. There was no vehicles in front of me, no.
It was the roadway was relatively empty.
There was no cars.
And you didn't see a body then either, did you?
I did not.
And as you drive past that flagpole with everything lit up and everything in your peripheral vision, you still didn't see a body on that. And against that,
it's like again, how do you not see a body? He's like, I'm just looking straight forward. Like, all of these people are the most serious drivers, and they get in their car, and it's just they have literal blinders on that do not allow them to see anything to the side.
He also, Brian Higgins also had to have walked down the entire driveway, right, to get. So that means it's not like, if you're parked front, near the front of by the garage, like you just quickly go into your car. Okay, maybe you didn't see that body, but he had to walk all the way down, and then get to his car, get into the car. Like, all that time while he was walking down the driveway, or whichever route he took, he didn't see a body there. Like, his is probably the hardest to believe.
Right. And then there's this guy who was never interviewed by police somehow. Tristan Morris picked up his girlfriend at 1:45 after, mind you, he was at the bar with them at the waterfall. And then he was going to plow the next day. So he had to get up early. So he wanted to go home. And so Caitlin, his girlfriend, is going to keep drinking, and he's going to go back to their home in Easton, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. But then suddenly at 1:45, he decides, actually, I'm going to change my plans. I'm going to wake up in the middle of my slumber and then drive to Canton to pick up my girlfriend in a blizzard and then drive her back to Easton just so I don't get any sleep, because she's high maintenance, he says. And he didn't want to deal with her. So that's why he abruptly just decided to do everything that he wanted to do. He was never, despite, admitting to being at the house at 1:45 to pick up his girlfriend, and therefore he would have been a great witness for police, like, to talk about like what you saw. Was there a body on? The police don't interview him. He was never interviewed by police, which again goes to what I was saying. It's not what they did do to cover this up. It's what they didn't do. They didn't talk to this guy. And here's why.
Snow, did you see a black baseball cap?
Absolutely not.
And as you sat in that driveway, you also did not see a black sneaker?
Absolutely not.
And you also did not see 45 pieces of red plastic?
No.
Or even one piece?
No.
And you certainly did not see a 6'2" man on the lawn of your girlfriend's parents' home, correct?
No, I did not.
You saw nothing unusual in that front area of the lawn, correct?
No, I did not.
Caitlin got into the Jeep?
Correct.
The plan was for you to drive the Jeep back to Easton with her, correct?
Yes.
You backed out of the driveway, correct? And you turned the rear end of that car toward Cedar Crest, correct?
Not towards Cedar Crest. I was going up the hill. So
okay. If I suggested to you that going up the hill would take you towards Chapman, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And the other end of the street was Cedar Crest, right?
Was that way? Yes.
Okay. So the rear end of your car was towards Cedar Crest, and you were facing up the hill towards Chapman, right?
Yes.
All right. That would have meant that you were driving your vehicle past really the entire length of Brian Albert's front lawn, correct?
Yes.
And the front lawn would have been on Caitlin's side of the car, correct?
Yes.
And you drove past the flagpole that you're familiar with, correct?
Yes.
And as you drove past that entire front lawn, you never saw any of the things I previously asked you about: the baseball hat, the sneakers, the piece of red plastic, or a 6'2" man, correct?
I did not.
You saw nothing out of the ordinary, correct?
Correct.
And you saw no tire tracks in the snow leading to the Albert's front lawn, did you?
I did not.
You didn't see anything that would lead you to conclude that there would have been a car crash there, correct?
Absolutely not.
None of the other
So again,
people-
that's pretty straightforward, right? I didn't see anything. You should have seen something, but I didn't see anything. I was just going straight forward, right? And I almost wish they could show this video. Like, this is why I put this video together, just showing their testimony and showing what it looks like when you drive by there. And you're just like, if you did not see a body, then there was no body, period.
Yeah, I mean, I brought this up also with Kate and Kevin when we were talking about it. I was like, you know, all those people were coming out of the house and not seeing the body, and they're like, well, you know, that dancing monkey, you know, thing that people just don't see things peripheral vision. You know, it's just hard to swallow when all those people are there and nobody saw a 6'2" man, 220-pound, you know, like, it's just hard to swallow. I mean, come on, there's just reasonable doubt, you know, but
that's where she comes in. So this is Julie Nagel, who was not interviewed by police until October of 2022. That's what, 9 months after John O'Keefe was killed. Despite being there, leaving with Jennifer McCabe, the police just never interviewed her, like as if she couldn't have anything to add to the story. Again, in a conspiracy, the less people you involve, the better, right? The easier it is to keep the story straight. So by not interviewing Julie Nagel for 9 months, that's how they help cover this up, because less people can screw the story up that way. However, by October of 2022, they realized that a weakness in their story was that somebody had to have seen a body. Somebody had to see something, right? Somebody had to see something. But the problem with that is if somebody saw something, if they saw a body, they would have had to call 911 and do something about it, right? So that's not believable. So she comes forward out of the blue for the first time. Police take an interest in her and interview her, and she has this story about seeing a shadowy figure, which is genius. Well, that it has transformed into a blob. Initially with police, it was just a shadowy figure that has, kind of grown or evolved into a 6 foot black blob, whatever. That sounds scary as hell. Like a 6 foot black blob. What does that mean? You know? And so now this is she's an important witness for them, because now they have somebody who's, oh, wait, so somebody did see something, but she just didn't know it was a body. Oh, okay. So it was there. Like, that's the whole point. That's why I hate Julie Nagel the most, is that she was just like, oh yeah, let me jump knee deep into this shit. I will say whatever the fuck you guys want me to say. Like, black blob, sure. Yeah. Okay. Whatever you want. You know, I saw something there, but wasn't a body.
Yelled out that they saw a body, correct?
Correct.
You got into Jennifer McCabe's vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And you were seated behind the driver, correct?
Yes.
And the driver was Matthew McCabe, correct?
Correct.
Jennifer McCabe was in the front passenger seat?
Yes.
And Sarah Levinson was sitting next to you behind the front passenger, correct?
Yes.
Matthew McCabe backed the car out of the driveway and then headed up toward Chapman Street, correct?
Yes.
That meant that the passenger side of the vehicle was closest to the Albert home, correct?
Yes.
So that meant that Sarah Levinson and Jennifer McCabe were in the seats that were closest to the Albert home, correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Sure. As Matthew McCabe was driving that vehicle alongside the Albert property line, Jennifer McCabe in the front passenger seat and Sarah Levinson in the rear passenger seat were the closest two people to the Albert home, correct?
Yes.
And as the car passed in front of the Albert home, you saw no tire tracks in the snow, correct?
I don't remember.
You claim now to have seen a black object in the snow, correct?
Yes.
Object is the term that you used when you were finally interviewed about this matter, correct?
A black object, yes.
Right. You never before ever told any investigator that what you actually saw was a black blob, correct?
I don't remember.
And you also never, ever told any investigator that this black object that you described was actually 5 feet or 6 feet long, correct?
Correct, yes.
The very first time you're now mentioning this testimony that this black object, as you describe it, was actually 5 or 6 feet long was just today, after 12 noon on May 14th of 2024, correct?
Lally asked me how big it was, so I just told him right now.
She calls him Lally.
When you say Lally, you mean Mr. Lally?
Yes, Mr. Lally, correct, yes.
Mr.
And so what are your thoughts on Julie Nagel? Do you think she's lying about the black blob that she saw? Do you think that's truthful testimony?
I don't know how you all of a sudden, like the day of trial, come up with the 5-6 foot blob. You know, it's one thing if you say, okay, object, blob. I don't know. I'm just saying blob, object, something was there, whatever. But then you're saying today during trial, it's 5-6 feet.
Yeah, like
That-
a like
that's
a human
really-
like a human being. Like
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's really suspect. I mean, you know,
So she's not saying it's a human being. She's just describing what a human being looks like. Like, oh yeah, it's like, oh yeah, it just had the same. But I totally didn't realize what did you think the black blob was? And she claims that she spouted out in the car and that she said this. And as we're going to see, this gets contradicted, by other witnesses.
So
they don't remember.
With that vehicle, as with the one that the husband was driving, which side of the vehicle would have been closest to the house?
Passenger.
Now, as you're driving past the house, heading to the house, how were you positioned within the car?
I'm turned chatting to the girls.
How
And when you're
convenient.
turned, are you turned towards the window or are you turned towards the console? Which way is the
Turn the console towards the back seat. So my back is to the window.
vehicle was facing?
Stop right there. Stop right there. Do you believe for a second that Jennifer McCabe was turned around and facing them and that she remembers that?
That's what she says.
That is what she said. Now, if you're in a car with somebody and you're talking, do you feel that, like when I have my kids in the back of the car or whatever, I've just never felt the need to be like, you guys, I mean, you can just talk in a car without turning to people, right?
No, I mean, look, I understand that. I mean, we've had to turn around and tell our kids one thing or the other. It's just that, like, specifically remembering as you're pulling away after a long night, specifically that you were turned at that 10 seconds, and it wasn't 10 seconds later, like that. Everybody remembers her being turned at that moment when they're backing out. I think that's where people are,
Well, first of all, how convenient. Secondly, she had to say it more than anyone because her position in the car in the passenger seat front of the car is going to have a better view than anyone with that body. Like, you're unobstructed by anything. Back seat, at least you could be like, well, Matt McCabe's fat head was in the way, or Jen McCabe's head was in the way. But she's got nothing in her way. And so how convenient that she's just turned around at that point.
And it was Julie Nagel who was on the stand who said that she saw the black blob. That was Julie Nagel?
Julie Nagel was in back seat behind the driver.
So she's behind Matt.
Yes.
So she's got Matt in front of her. She's got Jennifer turned face right in her face. Right.
That's right. That's right.
And next to her is her view is blocked. It's her view. So she sees somehow between Matt and Jennifer's face, and like she sees the blob, but nobody else does.
Yes, and she mentions the blob, and no one's like, "Whoa, black blob? That sounds like a horror movie. Tell me more about this black blob." Everyone's just like, "No, let's talk about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches."
But I thought that they said that they didn't remember her saying anything.
They do. Oh, we're gonna get to that. Where was it?
Towards the house, and by that I mean, was it the side you were sitting on, or the side that Slevin was?
The side that Sarah was sitting on.
And that would have been passenger side, is that correct?
Yes.
And at the time that the vehicle was driving by the house, what is it that you were doing at that time?
We were having a conversation. So Jen was kind of facing towards the back, towards me and Sarah. We were talking about making PB and jelly sandwiches because there was
Okay. So they're overdoing it with the PB and J sandwiches. There's no way she thinks this is funny. She's like laughing about it, like, "Oh, peanut butter and jelly. Oh, I still crack up about that one today. It's so funny." And it's like, this is just so obviously rehearsed. They're like, "Guys, we need a story about why none of us was looking at the lawn. Let's just say there was some peanut butter. Yeah. So you made a joke. Yeah, you made a joke. Okay, that's what we're gonna say. That's what we're gonna do." I mean, I can't prove they did that, but to me, that seems more logical than anything.
I mean, look,
why none of them saw a body.
Well, look, I mean, there's questions. What do you want from me? There's questions and questions.
Is that reasonable doubt? Is her are these people's testimony about not seeing a body? Is that reasonable doubt?
Definitely, you can make an argument for that. I can definitely make an argument that it's that. Come on, I without everything else and just looking at that in the vacuum, you might get there. I mean, you might get there. But there's a lot of questions in this case, not just limited to this.
I mean, the hurdle that you have to overcome if you're Karen Reed here is that you have to convince them that this woman, who is not related to anyone inside that house, is willing to perjure herself and lie in order to cover up a murder, which I understand it's a big thing, a bar to get over. However, she was inside the house. So she's potentially an accessory to a murder, is she not? If a murder happened inside that house?
Potentially. I mean, potentially, but if she had nothing to do with it, then no, but
she's in too deep at this point. And if she just comes clean, she's going to be in trouble, right?
Yeah, not necessarily, but you know, she's not necessarily going to be in trouble. I mean, she comes clean when? Like now?
Now, if she comes clean now,
If she
and
comes
it's like,
clean now
actually,
and says, "Oh, really? There was," and I just covered it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's be some
so
problems.
she has
But initially, like, why would she initially lie? You know, like, why don't you say, "Hey, why are you guys dragging me into this thing? What do I have to do with this? Forget it. I'm just going to tell the cops what happened." You know, why would she? You know,
well, that's why the cops didn't speak to her. The cops never spoke to her. That's the beauty of not being questioned by police, right? Is that, you know?
Yeah.
And who knows what that? So John, according to our theory, John's phone stops moving at 12:32, right? He's done. Everybody agrees that by 12:32, John is no longer moving around. Okay. So John's incapacitated by 12:32. So that means that from these, they don't leave till 1:47. That's an hour and 15 minutes. That's a lot of talking. A lot could happen inside that house. God knows what they were telling. Maybe they threatened her. Maybe they put the fear of God in her. Who knows what they did? But maybe they convinced her. I mean, you got an ATF agent and a murder police in your house, and they're telling you everything's going to be all right. We just say he never came in the house. It's that they're not going to question you. We'll take care of all this. Just, you know, this was an accident. No, Karen Reed, no one's going to go to jail over this. She's not going to get in trouble over it. If she didn't even know she did, like, everything will be fine. Nobody needs to go to jail over this. I could see her getting talked into that.
Okay. Well, you know, it's possible. You know, you're asking about possible. You know, does that mean that, like, have you proved it now that there's a conspiracy?
No, I have not.
Right. So that's, you know, that's where people are pushing back, probably. You know,
that's a theory about what happened.
Yeah.
But to me, again, we're not trying. If I was trying to prove that Julie Nagel convict her of this, I would be unable to do that, right? Because again, they didn't. If they found luminol at the house and they found blood, then you can tie her to it because she's inside the house, right? So that's different. So again, it's not what they did do to frame Karen Reed. It's what they didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they didn't do. So
peanut butter and jelly and bread in the car. So talking about that. But yeah.
And so with Mr. K, she's in the front seat, is that right?
Yes.
And she's talking to you in Ms. Levinson, correct?
Yes.
And how is it that she's positioned talking to you in relation to the seat that she's in?
Yeah, I would say she was kind of turned back a little bit.
How about
towards us in the back seat?
She remembers it
What I'm asking is, she turned towards sort of the center of the vehicle, or she turned towards the window next?
Towards the center of the vehicle.
And you're speaking to her and to Ms. Levinson, correct?
Yes.
Which direction are you facing?
I'm facing towards Sarah and Jen.
And which direction is Sarah facing as you're having this conversation?
Towards me.
And as you drive by home, what, if anything, did you observe?
I did notice behind Sarah and Jen, I did notice something out of the ordinary, like a black blob in the ground by the flagpole.
And from where you were situated in the car, do you know what was the lighting like over in that area of the yard that you saw?
It was pretty dark out, but the snow was kind of heavy at that point, so couldn't really see too much. But
so snow coming down at that point. And if you know about where in relation to the flagpole was this black object that you saw?
I'd probably say like close to like the street, but like in their lawn, right kind of in front of the flagpole next to it.
Now, when you walked out the front door, where was your attention directed?
When I walked out the front door, I recall somewhat looking down, trying to make sure I didn't slip. The ground was completely covered with snow at that point. And then my direction was towards Tristan's car, so to the left.
Notice that one about I looked down and make sure I didn't slip. Sarah Levinson tells the same story because they both have to explain they walked out of the house. And if you walked out of the house too, you also have to explain why you didn't look at the lawn. And they all had the same story about, I looked down at the ground to make sure I wasn't slipping, almost like it was rehearsed. You know, I mean, I'm just saying.
Then once I got in the car, I was turned again to the left, speaking with him for the majority of the first couple minutes of our car ride back home to Easton.
Now, so when you exit the door, you come onto the brick steps, correct?
Yes.
The brick steps are covered in snow at that point?
Yes.
You recall what you were wearing on your feet, like high heels, flats?
I think I had high heel like boots on, something of that nature.
You're walking down the brick steps that are covered in snow in high heel boots, correct?
Yes.
And then you're walking over to your car and getting in the passenger side, correct?
Yes.
And at any point in time, at any point in time in any of the sequence, have any reason to look over to the front yard area of the parents' home in the area of the front?
I did not.
When you get in the car and you're driving away and you're talking to Tristan, is that correct?
Yes.
And so Tristan's driving, you're in the passenger seat, is that correct?
Yes.
So you're looking at him but away from the front lawn as you're driving, correct?
Yes.
She remembers it so well.
So Tristan Morris backed your Jeep out of the driveway, correct?
Yes.
And the tail end of that Jeep, when he backed out, would have gone toward Cedar Crest, correct?
Correct.
Which would mean that the car was now facing toward the Chapman Street side, correct?
Yes.
And that would mean that your Jeep, being driven by Tristan, would have driven directly by your parents' full property line, correct?
Correct.
And you were on the passenger side of the car, correct?
Correct.
The passenger side was closest to your parents' front lawn as you were driving away, correct?
Yes.
And you drove past the front lawn, correct?
Yes.
You drove past the flagpole, correct?
Yes.
And in all that time, from when Tristan Morris pulled out the driveway and drove right by your parents' front lawn, you never saw anything of the things that I previously asked you about, correct?
Ready?
I
Here
did
it
not, but I also was not looking.
There it
You
is.
saw no baseball hat, no sneaker, no pieces of red plastic, and no 6'2" man, correct?
Correct, but I also was not
There
looking out
it
my
is.
window.
Okay, let me ask you this. Did anybody in this courtroom ask you if you were looking out your window?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
That was an answer to a question that nobody asked you, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
No.
I'm so glad he did that.
And by the way, there's another, again, that's another tactic for cross-examination. Why can't he ask that question?
Exactly. She
I
didn't.
did I ask you that question? And I do this plenty of times. Excuse me, what question are you asking? And what question are you answering? Did I ask you that question? No, you're trying to say something. Okay, and try to concentrate on answering my questions. And that I get away with that plenty. I mean, but Judge Kearney is not allowing. I think it's a fair question.
It's such a fair question because it's just so obvious that like she offered up something that no one was asking. Why? Because she knew what he was getting at. Oh, I see what you're getting at. You're getting at that like I should have. There was a body there. I should have seen it. But no. But I didn't look. I wasn't looking. I didn't look. Did anybody ask you if you were looking? It's like you seem a little defensive there. It's like, and it just shows that this is rehearsed. This is what we say, guys. This is what we say because, they're going to ask us why we didn't see a body. It's because we weren't looking. It's because we weren't looking. Emphasize that.
Yes.
Matt McCabe was driving.
Yes.
Jennifer McCabe was in the front passenger seat next to him.
Yes.
Julie Nagel was seated behind the driver, behind Matt McCabe, right?
Yes.
And you were seated in the second row passenger seat to the right.
Yes.
Behind where Jennifer McCabe was sitting.
Yes.
And the car backed out of the driveway, correct?
Yep.
And the rear of the car was then facing towards Cedar Crest.
Correct.
And the front of the car, where you were going to drive toward, would be toward Chapman Street, correct?
That's correct.
Which would have put you driving right past the Albert property line, correct?
Yes, correct.
And you were closer to that property line than Julie Nagel was, correct?
That's correct.
As you drove past.
Yes.
And as you drove past that front lawn, you saw nothing out of the ordinary, right?
I wasn't looking, but yes.
Okay.
Now,
I wasn't looking, but yes.
As you make that observation, what, if anything, did you say in the backseat of the car?
I did say out loud. I was like, I think I might have saw something. I'm not kind of sure what it was. But I was also intoxicated drinking. So didn't really know what it was, what I saw. But Sarah was like, what, Julie? And I was like, I don't know what it was. And then that was kind of really.
Oh, so Sarah said, what, Julie? So Sarah acknowledged the black blob comment. And then she's like, what black blob? And she's like, yeah, whatever. Peanut butter and jelly. Let's talk about that instead.
And they're so intoxicated, but again, they do remember. She does remember that she said, "Oh, there's a black blob," and everyone just ignored me.
And she also.
What about everything else that you said that night that everybody ignored? Do you remember that in your intoxicated state, or you just remember this thing that you said that everybody ignored?
And you remember that Jennifer McCabe was turned around looking at you at that exact moment, and that Sarah Levinson was doing the same, and that she said, "What?" You remembered all of that, but you don't remember. You're also drunk. You're admittedly drunk, but you remember everything.
Because I think a nice fair follow-up to that would have been, do you remember everything else that you said that night that nobody else remembers? Is there anything else that you said that night that nobody else remembers? In your intoxicated state, or is this the only thing?
Yeah, it's just that would be objection. That's definitely an objection. That would definitely,
even though it's a fair question.
It is a lot of fair questions we're not allowed.
Oh, you did that, sir. Julie Nagel never said, what was that? Did she?
I did not hear Julie say that.
She never said she had seen a black object, correct?
I did not hear her say that.
She never said that she saw a black blob, correct?
I did not hear her say that.
And she didn't say that the black blob that she supposedly saw was 5 or 6 feet in length, correct?
Again, I did not hear her say that.
And she never said that she might have seen a person, correct?
I did not hear her. You talking about in the car?
Correct.
Yeah, I did not hear her say it in the car.
And you were right there driving, correct?
I was driving, obviously focused on the road. The windshield wipers, it was snowing pretty heavily.
You didn't have AirPods.
Obviously.
I didn't, but they were all talking in the car.
You didn't have AirPods in.
No, I didn't.
Certainly not the noise cancellation AirPods, correct?
Correct. I did not have AirPods in.
And you never stopped the car because you never heard Julie Nagel say anything about anybody being in trouble, correct?
I did not hear her say it.
I did.
Yeah, it's like that whole thing. And again, he can't say that he heard her say that because the next logical question is no follow-up. You didn't ask her like
anybody turn their head then and say, hey, like, what did you just see?
Yeah, like their whole story makes no sense. And then they have to make sense of it. They have to be like, so, oh, I just didn't hear her say that. She said it. So this is all choreographed because he's not contradicting Julie Nagel. He's just saying, oh, she said that. I was way too laser focused on the road. I was just in the zone. When Matt McCabe gets behind the wheel of a car, that motherfucker, it has no distractions at all. Like, he's just straightforward, looking ahead, can't hear anyone else, doesn't know what the hell is going on. He's just in the zone, focused. Focused.
Did say out loud. I was like, I think I might have saw something. I'm not kind of sure what it was. But I was also intoxicated drinking. So didn't really know what it was, what I saw. But Sarah was like, what, Julie? And I was like, I don't know what it was. And then that was kind of really it.
And that was sort of the end of the conversation in reference to that. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
You also didn't hear anybody. You did hear some girls in the back, since they were so chatty, talking about bread and sandwiches or something, right?
Correct.
But you never heard anybody say anything about noticing anything out of the ordinary, correct?
Correct.
You didn't hear Julie Nagel say that she saw a black object in the yard.
Never heard that.
But you would turn around, look at her right after, according to you, right?
Correct.
Indeed, engaging them in conversation, according to you.
Correct.
So that you can make sure that you weren't looking out the front or right windows.
Objection.
Can you answer that? Is that why you did it? No, that's not why I did it. I was talking to the two girls.
So he knew, Alan Jackson knew that she wasn't going to say there that, yeah, that's exactly why I did it. I wanted an alibi. But the jury hears that question. I mean, that's why you ask a question like that, is because so that the jury will get the point that you're trying to make.
Exactly. And sometimes you can trip them up because they're not expecting you. And it's a good tactic. I mean, it was definitely good job, Alan Jackson.
But she was ready to be like, no, like they were so ready. They knew the gotcha questions were coming. They were ready for it, you know? So anyway, so I thought that video, I mean, I hate to, pat myself on the head, but I thought that video was pretty effective at driving how unbelievable it is that not a single person would see that body. I think they should show it at trial.
It's just another coincidence, right?
Yeah, like you said, coincidences. So I don't want to waste too much of your time. Let me read a couple more turtle chats directed to you. We have here, let's see. This is $10 from Jane. Says, great energy tonight. You two are excellent together. Please have brother join us again. 𝗬𝗏𝗃.
Shavua Tov means have a nice week.
Okay, it's Shavua Tov. Lakewood is cool with nice peeps. Aidan, your parents done good, and you too, brother. Much gratitude. Well, thank you for the kind words, Jane, and I'd love to have you back on. Another time. I don't really do guests very often, but I like the insightfulness that you have and everything. So maybe during the trial, especially.
Yeah. Sounds like a good idea. It sounds like whatever the people want, right?
Some good grifting to be had. We got $25 from Kathy. Says, I've been enjoying listening and recently subscribed to Brother Counsel since Turtle Boy mentioned him. His straightforward, no nonsense approach to covering this case is very refreshing. I especially love his list of coincidences. That was my favorite as well, that one would have to believe in order to think Karen Reed is guilty. Free Karen Reed and Turtle Boy. Kevin from South Boston, you wrong. Did you ever hear that audio of when Brian Higgins called into the JFK show?
Oh yeah, I think I did. Somebody must have sent that. I did hear like that, and I
still can't believe that happened. Like that to me was because I love JFK, great guy, but his show is kind of like one of dozens of shows on the Karen Reed trial that you can watch, and the fact that Brian Higgins is listening into that, it's just like he must listen to everything, and then he calls in and defends his honor using a nom de plume, and then gets caught in the middle of it and just goes, you wrong, and then hangs up the phone. You can't find this kind of entertainment anywhere else. That's why people are fascinated by this trial.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad because there's been a lot of entertainment, but I mean, John O'Keefe's dead. What's going on with Karen Reed, if she's innocent, is terrible. And, it's at the end of the day, there's no winners, right? This is this tragic story. And no matter what way you slice it,
except for the grifters. The grifters are the big winners.
The grifters, we win. We win. I mean, we're catching all those checks all day.
Denise sends $10 and goes, welcome, Brother Counsel. I enjoy your show and don't let the weirdos get you down. Just a thought regarding the Sallyport video mess. If I were Judge Bev, I would use this gift of an excuse to dismiss the charges and extricate myself from this disaster of a case and let the Commonwealth take all the heat. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't think Judge Kearney is. I think she's going to look at the arguments and then let them have a hearing and then issue an opinion. I don't think she's looking for an easy exit. I don't think that's her way that she's going to go about this.
She's had plenty of opportunities for easy exits. I think she likes being the judge in this case. I think she likes being on television and getting her hair done and being Auntie Bev. I think she genuinely enjoy. I mean, she's human, right? Maybe she's kind of in on the grift too. It's like, is she not? I mean, she's gained a lot of fame from this. She's a villain to many, but a hero to some. So definitely She's
Yeah,
got a lot out
okay.
of this. We got $5 here. And by the way, like they're saying it is, I give it a week tops, maybe tomorrow. You will like this whole thing where they're like, yeah, he seems like a decent guy. We talked to him. You will be full-fledged. You're a bad person within 24 hours. That's my prediction, but just throwing that out.
Let me just reiterate again. Okay. For all you out there, I am not embracing the conspiracy. I still believe that Kearney should have been found not guilty. But I think there's a lot of questions, a lot of coincidences, but I'm not going to sit here, argue, then say that there's absolutely a conspiracy in this case. So let me make my position still clear. All these questions, though, like all those people, how they didn't catch a body, are beyond me. I mean, yeah, that I think that helps create reasonable doubt. But if you're going to try to get me onto the, I 100% embrace the conspiracy. That's not me just quite yet. I think that there's maybe some reasonable doubt there, at least from my perspective.
All right, so we got here $10, the $5.
Not that that's going to help, by the way.
No, that will do nothing. That will not appease them. If you think for 1 second that will appease them, it will not. I don't know. Unless you completely jump on the 𝗕𝗏boy is bad and deserves to go to jail, you're not ever going to please them. So we got $5 here from Welcome Aboard Brother Counsel. It says, can Higgins be held accountable for, quote, moving cars at a police facility and workplace while being under the influence and drinking all day? He also drove home. It's like all these people did. They all drank and drove. I don't think they're going to catch a DUI charge out of this. I don't know.
Yeah, see, I think, and this is what I think that if they would have charged Karen Reed with DUI, they maybe would have had a guilty.
Because they didn't test her. I don't think they would even get her on that because they didn't.
Okay, but I think they had that was their best chance. I think driving while she was intoxicated. I think that was their best chance of getting a guilty verdict. I mean, they didn't even
charge her with that. Why didn't they? Right. They didn't even add that charge on.
Right. That was their better shot. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that would be their best shot. Would be a DUI.
You got the video at the waterfall. You see her taking drinks, and you got some other testimony. You can make a case that she was DUI. Sure.
Yeah, she would take a quaff for that. She would take a continuance without a finding, like everyone else does in the state. For their first charge, no problem. All right, we got here. Let's see. Let me just check my cash apps to make sure we don't have any questions here specifically for you. Okay. Lorena sends $5 and says, did Brother Counsel see the Michael Morrissey hostage video? Have you seen that video where Michael Morrissey got up there and said in August of 2025, in response to my protesting, said that leave the witnesses alone. Michael Proctor doesn't know any of the witnesses. Has no personal relationship with them. Colin Albert was never in the house. This is a fantastic lie being spread by the defense.
Wait, so did he put out one video?
One video.
Yeah, that one video. Yeah, that one video I saw because it was the subject of a motion, I think.
Yeah, the motion to dismiss.
Okay, so maybe So I think there's some motion, and therefore I watched that because I was analyzing that motion. But yeah, I saw that, and they were saying that they found all of those witnesses to be credible and not lying. That one, like with all the people at the house, were being forthcoming. That video.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Yes, where
I saw
he
that.
vouches for the witnesses' credibility. What do you think of that? Have you ever seen a video like that before?
Well, I haven't seen a lot of things that I'm seeing in this case, but I think that the argument there was that you're very limited about what you're allowed to talk to the press about. Like as a prosecutor or as a defense attorney, and I remember, I vaguely remember analyzing that it was under the rules of professional responsibility about what you're allowed to say to the press. And I think that the argument there was that since it was in response to certain other information that was put out there, that could technically be allowed. I think that was the analysis over there. So, but yeah, it's not common,
Well, it's funny because a month after that video in which he said that there's no personal relationship between Michael Proctor and any of the witnesses in the case, and anything to the contrary is a lie. Then exactly 1 month later, on September 25th, I do an article after being sent a picture of Jennifer McCabe's car parked at Michael Proctor's house.
That's when she went to visit Elizabeth Proctor
right. So prior to this, they didn't know each other. That was the official story. They don't know each other until I catch them in the act. And I publish a story on that. And that was actually one of the charges that I got for witness intimidation against Elizabeth Proctor and Jennifer McCabe, because I confirmed that was Jennifer McCabe's car by having somebody run what we call run a plate. Like I do this a lot. I've been doing this for years. I've been doing stories on people parking in handicap spots. This used to be my grift, was I would shame people who parked in handicap spots illegally. And I would say, I need somebody to run a license plate for me. And then I'd get 10 tow truck drivers or dispatchers to message me and say, what do you need? And I'd give them the license plate and they give me a name and I'd do an article shaming this person for parking in a handicap spot. I've done it a million times. They're not supposed to do it, but it's not against the law. Okay. So I say I need a license plate run because I need to confirm that this is indeed Jennifer McCabe's car, because I'm not just going on a hunch. It looks like your car, but I need to confirm it. And so I put it out there. I get 10 volunteers in my inbox. They all run the plates and I confirm it's her car. And so the state police then do a 𝗪𝗔 inquiry, it's called, to see if any dispatchers, requested this license plate, and they got a hit, a woman by the name of Janelle. And so they go to her. She worked for the Avon Police Department, and she was one of the 10 people who ran this plate for me. And they said, tell us everything. And then they charged both of us with conspiracy to commit witness intimidation, simply because she was a source that gave me information that proved that Jennifer McCabe was indeed at the house. They called that witness intimidation. That's what I mean by these charges are wild. Like all I did was just write an article showing this is Jennifer McCabe at Michael Proctor's house. Michael Morrissey lied about them having no personal relationship with each other. And I got charged with a felony for that.
What does it have to do also with your intent behind it? I mean, who says your intent was to intimidate her not to testify?
Jennifer McCabe did. That's the problem with the statute, is the intent is left up to the witness. They get to decide what my intent is. At the grand jury, they were all asked, why do you think he's doing this? Why do you think he's talking about you? Why do you think he's writing about you? Why do you think he's asking you questions? Because I'm a witness in the Karen retrial and he doesn't want me to testify. And that was the problem. They're the ones, they get to decide the intent. That's what's crazy about this whole thing, is like they get to, that's not my intent at all, but they're the ones who get to decide my intent according to the documents.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely crazy. Again, and I haven't done any research, but
if you can research it all. Yeah, you'll see.
If what you're saying is true. I mean, this sounds absolutely ridiculous. I mean,
we'll be having a motion to dismiss coming in the next week or so that I will send your way, and you'll be able to read a little bit more on it. So it should be good. But anyway, I just want to say thank you again, all the Turtle Chats, people who donated, and to specifically you for coming on our program. And I know it's long, and I'm sure you're a busy guy. You got a family and everything, but I really appreciate your time and your insight, and I like your channel. And what is your channel called so people can sub to you and your Twitter?
Yeah, it's just Brother Counsel. Brother Counsel. You should be able to find me. Just type in Brother Counsel. Also on Twitter, I'm Brother Counsel. So that's how you find me. Subscribe, and that's what I do. I do legal analysis. That's what I do.
Great, awesome stuff. Well,
all right.
I want to
thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Keep the grift up. We'll talk to you later. Thank you. Man. Bye.
Bye.
Love it, man. I love that guy. Great guest, great content. Like I said, a lot of people didn't like when he had 𝗪𝗏 and 𝗵𝗏 on. I did. I enjoyed the way he handled them. I enjoyed the fact that that he kept his composure. If you watch it, they try to bait him into it. They did great. Like 𝗵𝗏 is he acts like he's like respectful, but then he's just constantly throwing jabs at you, like telling you, yeah, I want to have a respectful conversation, but also you're very stupid. You're and you're part of a grift. And I respect you as long as you ultimately come around and see my opinion about this and you join my side, and then you're no longer, in on the grift. So there's that. Okay, cool. So let me read some other Turtle Chats here that I didn't get a chance to read that don't involve Brother Counsel here. Let's go back. And I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I was actually really proud of that video, to be perfectly honest. I think the prosecution should play that, or the Commonwealth should play that at the trial, because I think it's very effective. Okay. All right. Let me go back here. Man, there's a bunch. Holy shit. All right. Oh man, I was grifting hard tonight. Okay. All right. Auntie JJ, aka Turtle Dove, gives $15 and goes, Brian Albert's testimony bothers me. He appeared shaky, timid, perplexed, bewildered, something. Definitely not a confident Boston fugitive unit cop who's testified 100 times. I wonder if we can find video of him testifying at other trials to see if his demeanor is the same or not. This is all your girl from Texas could find on the internet. See below a few cases. So I will check out that afterwards. But I kind of disagree on that. I think Brian Albert was the best that they had. I thought that he was so like ice water runs through that motherfucker's veins. As far as like his whole Mr. Rogers act that he pulled and blah blah. I don't know. He was, I think, much more effective than any of the other McAlberts when he got up there, because he's the most evil, like, of all of them. He is the most diabolical and just fucking like all I got from that guy when he testified, I'm like, oh, this is the guy you want in your corner, you know, if he doesn't, you know, if you kill somebody and you need to cover it up. So thank you very much for that one. Anonymous sends $10 and goes, charity event, please. All proceeds to yours and Karen's defense fund. A cage match between Diana Andrade. It's actually Diana Mata is her last name, M-O-T-A, and Courtney Egan, to find out who is the most cray-cray. I know, just when you thought the story couldn't get any crazier, there weren't enough nut jobs involved in this. Go check out some of the. Diana Andrade is a nut job who would message me every day in jail and tell me her life story, because she'd been to jail before. So she's like, I got advice for you. And she would message me, and then she'd tell me about how her son doesn't want to talk to her anymore, and her life's sad. And when I got out of jail, I should come to Falmouth and hook up with her. She was like kind of throwing herself at me and shit. And I'm like, okay, you know, you're happy to get any message when you're in jail. And I'm like, this lady's clearly a little nuts. And so she would send me these videograms, these like 30-second videograms multiple times a day. And it would just be like her driving a Dunkin' Donuts and just talking about things that don't matter. And she was cool with me until I criticized Shaun of the Gulf, but especially Nick Fiorillo. And now she's turned into, we are going to fucking destroy you. I'm going to fucking kick. She's dedicated. Her life is dedicated to me now. She's the latest nut job who has just glommed onto me. She claims she's doing this for Papa Sean. That's Shaun of the Gulf. She calls him Papa Sean. And for the record, in fairness, right? I had somebody message Shaun of the Gulf today and said, is this woman really doing this on your behalf? Are you guys really working together? And Sean has disavowed her. So Sean has disavowed Diana Andrade, because this is Shaun of the Gulf 2.0, medicated Shaun of the Gulf. He's normal now. He just does this thing where Canton's strong, and that's great. Okay. That's I'm all for that version of Shaun of the Gulf, right? I'm not for the, you know, I'm a fucking big shot and fucking, I know everything. I don't like that Shaun of the Gulf. Okay. So that the new Shaun of the Gulf 2.0 has completely rejected and disassociated himself with, you know, with Diana Andrade. So I do feel the need to point that out, that he has disavowed her. So thank you very much for that one. All right. Next up, fake victim, real camel toe, gives $5 and goes, Meredith's fundraiser for her kitten's half birthday has raised more money for Karen than fake victim with real camel toe raised in 2 weeks. Free Karen Reed, free Turtle Boy, lock up real camel toe. And it's true. It's true. Meredith started a fundraiser for Karen Reed in honor of her cat's 6-month birthday. And she raised in the last like 24 hours close to $3,000 just doing that, all of which is going directly to the Karen Reed Legal Defense Fund. And the fake victim has raised about $2,100, I think, for her, I guess, to defend herself. So she had a bad day yesterday. I think she was served by the sheriff with the lawsuit that I filed against her. So, you know, for defamation, because you can't call me a rapist if I didn't rape you. And you can't say that I'm on drugs if I'm not on drugs. You can't say that. You can't say that I'm a pedophile. You can't do any of that stuff. So, and this is, I have hired an attorney, and we are filing a total of 5 defamation lawsuits. That's what that's what our agreement covers. Okay. That's my retainer covers. We are filing 5 defamation lawsuits. We are doing this strategically though. We've been planning this for months. Okay. How we're going to handle this lawsuit. And she's first because she is the nexus of all of these lies. Okay. But others have also perpetuated and expounded on these lies. And you will see how this has evolved. But she's the nexus of this. So she is first up, and we're not doing them at the same time. So some of these other people might say, well, I haven't gotten my paperwork. He's full of shit. Plenty of time. Plenty of time for that. Plenty of time for depositions. Plenty of time for discovery. So she's first. And again, as somebody who has been sued many times for defamation before, it's not cheap to defend yourself. And, with the Dartmouth Yoga Poon, when she sued me in 2017 or 2018, that one cost me like 20 grand. All right. Then there was the Genero Pet Trackers one. I don't know how much I paid for that, but that was a bunch. The Tony Branch one was like 20 grand. And just to get these cases dismissed, and then you don't get the money back when you win. But for them, it's not going to be dismissed because this is actual defamation. They actually lied about me maliciously, and it, affected me. Oh, you remember that one, Kelly Garcia? That was a long time ago. The Dartmouth Yoga Poon, yeah. But Ryan Waters, that one was cheaper. Like I had a Westfield attorney, great guy named Kevin. The lawyers in Western Mass are so much cheaper. And then after a while, I just represented myself pro se with Ryan because he's a fucking idiot. But yeah, so she's gonna have to. It's gonna cost like to defend herself with this lawsuit like a lot of money, and no one's gonna lawyers don't work for free. And I'm not doing it to make her pay. I'm doing it to get my reputation back because I'm not going to allow people to lie on me. I'm not going to allow it to do it. And yes, it's like if you want to lie on me, if you want to spread untruths about me, affect my reputation, then you're going to have to pay for that. Like there's consequences for that. And because there are defamation laws in this state and you're not following them, you're violating them. And there are consequences for that. And this is the consequence. So just if you want to criticize me, criticize me. Don't lie. Do not lie. And I'm not putting up with this. Again, we have 5. I have not announced who the 5 guys are. They're not all guys, obviously. Starting with a chick, the real camel toe. And there will be others that follow after this. And there will be consequences. So there's that. Next up. So thank you, Meredith, for that amazing fundraiser. Excellent. Loudmouth says, sends $25 and goes, we've heard from attorneys in the Popo. I realize that a sitting judge cannot comment, but if there's a retired judge out there following this case, I'd really be interested in their opinion. Go Bills, Chiefs, and Eagles, boo. Go Bills, Chiefs, and Eagles, boo. Well, first of all, let me start by saying that, yes, I honestly believe this. If I were to predict, I think that we're going to get a Bills Redskins Super Bowl. I really think that we're getting that. The more I think about it, it's like, dude, the Redskins are for real, dude. They're for real. Like they beat the Bucks in Tampa Bay. The Bucks beat the Lions and the Eagles this year. That's hot. Like they had 5 total losses combined, those 2 teams. And 2 of them were to the freaking Tampa Bay Bucks. And so they have a chance now. If they get to the Super Bowl, that is the most impressive Super Bowl run in history. At Tampa, at Detroit, at Philly. They would be so for real if they got to this. They already are so for real. But there's something about this team, man, about this quarterback, this rookie quarterback. He's, him and Drake May, they're 1 and 1A. They're the future of the NFL, those 2. And he's something special, man. And he's got Terry McLaurin. Zach Ertz was a nice pickup. Bobby Wagner was a nice pickup. They got Marshawn Lattimore. Austin Eckler was a nice little pickup. They got a nice little team there in Washington. Nice little team. They're for real. I hope the Eagles aren't looking past them because the Eagles are obviously for real too. But the quarterback's a little banged up. The running back is the team, which is never a good thing. You don't ever want your running back to be the team. Their star wide receiver is unhappy, clearly being there. Something Come on down to New England, AJ Brown. We'll treat you with respect here, dude. You don't need to read any books on our sidelines. You're going to get the ball. Drake May's going to get you to rock. You come to New England. So I think the Redskins are going to win. I do. I think they're going to upset them. Now, some would say, Betterow said this on Young Jerks, that he prefers the Eagles because if the Chiefs make it, the Eagles have a better chance of beating the Chiefs. And I can't disagree with that because the Eagles would probably be to the Chiefs a 1 or 2 point underdog, whereas the Redskins would be a 4 or 5 point underdog to the Chiefs. So I think we all agree the Bills have to win. It has to be. They beat them in the regular season this year, did they not? The Eagles played, the Bills played the Chiefs this year, and the Bills won. Okay? The Bills are a better team. They are. They're just better. It has to be. It has to be their year. So give me a Bills-Redskins Super Bowl. That's what I want. That's what I think is going to happen. So there's that. And it was great to have attorneys on here. But yeah, it would be cool to get a judge too as well. So thank you for that one. Romy sends $50 and just says supporting the grift. And we thank you for that, miss. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Stephanie sends $50 and says totally worth the money tonight. Great guest. I love Brother Counsel. Oh, I think I read that one earlier. So thank you very much, Stephanie. Chris sends $25 and goes, what was it like to listen to Kate over 2 hours on your show the other night? It's like nails on a chalkboard for everyone else. I think I was asked already, but yeah, I can't listen to her voice for very long. It is. So I just kind of zoned it out and listened to what his response was. And I thought he did great. $10 from Denise says, I love how Meredith's kitten fundraiser is pissing off Grande. Can we raise $4,000 for fake victims, 4 kids that should be taken away? He says. So again, I'm all for children being safe. I'm not here to talk about our kids or anything like that. I have no interest in that. But I do have interest in justice for Karen Reed. And, it does say a lot that, Karen Reed, who's literally being charged with murder, is a more sympathetic person to have her funds raised than this person. Again, it is funny. Every time I see Grant complain about it, like, oh, we should do more, blah, blah, blah. I haven't seen Grant donate a dime. Have you guys? I haven't seen Twisted Tragedies on there donate a dime. Have you guys? Oh, no. She did that privately. But I think the fake victim knows that actually Elisa hasn't given her shit. Twisted Tragedy has not given her anything. And, Grant hasn't given her anything. And so she must just be looking at this and be like, I am so polarizing and I piss so many people off that I'm just surrounded by 3 retards who don't give me shit, who are fucking useless to me. And she just must be thinking, now she's probably not thinking like, fuck, I really fucked this one up, because narcissists are incapable of that. But she can't even, like, she lost $2,000 from Gaffney. Gaffney gave him $2,000 and it was just gone because they insisted on censoring him from hurting Grant's feelings. Like, that was part of the deal. I'll give you $2,000, but I get to make fun of Grande. And they said, no, your money is no good here. You can't shit on Grande. No matter, you can give us $1 million, you can't shit on Grande. Okay. All right. Next one. Cora sends $8 and goes, shout out to Soph and Malika, who would rather sit on their phone and make fun of me for dancing around and getting all excited because it's Dr. Turtleboy than joining me in dancing. Damn teenagers. I know they're the worst. Come on, girls. Get your act together. Thank you very much, Cora. David, let's see. No, I already read that one. All right, $100 from Amy, and says, when I first started dating my husband, I was working Detroit Tigers opening day and came down to the parking lot with a friend I was supposed to meet after and drive him home. His phone died. He never showed up at our meeting place. I waited for hours. Eventually, I had no choice but to go home and wait for him because I couldn't find him. My drunk boyfriend was missing in Detroit. When I got home, I waited for hours. He didn't come home. I panicked. I even called my mom. Shock and horror.
She suggested I call the cops and hospitals, which I did. I definitely left him angry voicemails, even though I knew his phone was dead, because I was pissed and worried. Thankfully, he managed to make it home and didn't die on someone's front lawn, because I'd probably be in jail right now. Free Karen Reed, free Turtle Boy, go Bills, because the Lions broke my heart. It's a very similar story, Amy. And that's another thing I've brought up before. I'll say it again. Nothing about Karen's behavior in the hours after after she dropped John O'Keefe off at Brian Albert's house and he went inside, nothing about her behavior is at all suspicious at all. Like nothing. I can't say that most women wouldn't do the same exact thing if they drop him off at a house and he goes inside and then he just doesn't answer any of your calls and you get pissed at him. You go through phases. First, you're pissed and you're like, I'm going fucking home, blah, blah, blah. And then you fall asleep on the couch. You wake up 3 hours later. Holy shit, he's still not home. Then you start to worry that he's dead, that something actually fucked, because this is irregular for him not to text you back, isn't it? So thank you for that, Amy. Lissy sends $5 and goes, Aidan, nobody has the passion, bravery, authenticity, and drive in this whole movement that you do. Aussies love you. Well, I love my Aussies, first of all. All right. And I appreciate you're a lot of people do have a lot of passion for this and, drive. And, there's a lot of people out there standing in the cold, so there's a lot of great people involved in this movement. But I am the only one that went to jail for it. So I do get some street cred for that. And I didn't want to go to jail. That wasn't my plan. I just wanted to cover this case and get this story out there as effectively as possible. So all these people saying, well, I like Turtle Boy, but he made it all about him. And I really didn't. I really didn't. Like I covered the fucking case. I was nothing but myself the entire time. If you watched any of my shows prior to Karen Reed, this is just who I am. Okay. It's what comes naturally to me. So yeah, it is what it is. So thank you very much for that one. Next up, Lori sends $5, goes, I think for trial 2, the defense needs to get more common sense street smart jurors instead of book smart dumb jurors. I agree completely with that statement. If you saw what this jury looked like, it did not look like the crowd outside. And I think that was a big problem with this. Okay. There's 2 guys on there with PhDs, right? It didn't look like a crowd. It looked like they tried to pick the smartest jury possible, which I would think would be smart because smart people should realize that this is bullshit. But the problem is that these smart people, they thought they were smarter than 𝗪𝗏. Like that was the problem, is they thought they were too smart. You just need to pick regular people. Regular people are going to see through this shit. And I think a lot of the people on that jury cannot relate to somebody drinking and driving. I think a lot of them were just like, I would never do anything like that. I stay home and eat my cheese sandwich and I read Dostoevsky and that's it. That's an excellent Friday night for me. And I think a lot of them looked at Karen Reed and were like, yeah, this bitch is kind of a drunk, and she's kind of a mess, isn't she? A little trashy. Like, I think that's how they viewed her, is like, if she didn't do it, she deserves to go to jail anyway, because she sucks. I think that way a lot of them viewed it that way. So thank you for that one. Okay. Next up, Jules sends $25, goes, Turtle, I see a true heart. You want the truth? Call me ASAP. It's okay. I'm old. Okay, Jules, thanks. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just going past all the brother counsel ones. All right. All right. Poll for your female. This is from Patrick for $5. He goes, poll for female turtle riders. Which Brian incel has a better chance of finally finding the real thing, Kohberger or Higgins? I don't know. Finding the real. Brian Higgins can still get laid because he's not in jail. Kohberger is, and he's probably never going to get out because he's going to be convicted because he's guilty. And then a lot of people have messaged me about that case and been like, you should do this.
This guy is being railroaded. No, he's not. No, he's not, guys. Don't compare the Karen Reed to Brian 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏. Brian 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 is guilty. He fucking, they got him. They got him. They got him on cell phones. You know, come on, stop it. Of course he did it. Of course he did it. And like, I hate to say just look at him, but just look at him. Like, that's the kind of guy. Was it his major? Didn't he major in something simple? Like, he's the kind of guy who killed just to see if he could. He's just sick. He's just sick. He just wanted to see if he could get away with it, you know? Like, he's just a fucking nut job. Just a fucking common, serial murder douchebag, you know? But anyway, that's that. I agree with the 𝗕𝗏 thing. I agree with the 𝗕𝗏 thing. That's fucked. I think Richard Allen is innocent. I do believe Richard Allen's innocent. I don't believe Brian 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏's innocent at all. Does Andrea Burkhart? I love Andrea Burkhart. Does she believe that 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏's not guilty? I don't know. But if so, I will have to respectfully disagree with her on that one. Okay. All right. You can't believe I'm saying that. Why? Because if you think this is the not guilty channel, you've come to the wrong place. This is not everyone is not guilty. That is not what my channel has ever been all about. Like, I believe a lot of people are guilty. Karen Reed ain't one of them. Brian Albert is, and so is Brian 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏. So there's that. All right, next up. Let's see. Jane sends $10 and says, actually, I read this one. Okay. Thomas Autonomous Anonymous sends 5 and says, snow is ice and reflects light that illuminates the surrounding area. Excellent. Thank you, sir. Proctor's Karma sends $25 and goes, my 20-year-old brother is suffering from ulcerative colitis and PSC. He will need a new liver. He spends weeks in the hospital all at a time and is currently hospitalized. Proctor, do you want to come see him hooked up to a ventilator to see what it does to people before you say some disgusting things like that again? Better pray to God that none of your family ends up with that disease. Imagine saying that. Or what about one of your children? Disgusting pig. Well, I'm sorry about your brother, Proctor's Karma, and I completely agree with your sentiment of that one. Absolutely. Next up, Sandy sends $10, goes, was Julie Nagel asked to explain why she didn't report seeing the 6-foot black blob when she learned Officer O'Keefe was found deceased in the same spot as the blob? I can't think of any reasonable explanation she could give. Thank you, guys. Actually, yes, David Unetti did ask her that and said, so you saw a black blob, right? And then the next day you found out John O'Keefe was killed there. So you realized he was the black blob. Right. Okay. Did you report that to police? No, I didn't. I didn't report that to police until they came to me. And so, again, it doesn't prove anything, but it's like, bro, you didn't report a black, like, what kind of citizen are you? What kind of fucking piece of shit are you? This goes back to my theory. Julie Nagel is a piece of shit. That's all she is. So thank you very much. And the only thing that makes her smile is peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, as you saw. All right. Let's see. $10 for Dawn says, Doctor, I'm impressed how Meredith continues to respond to trash with pure class. Free Turtle Boy and free Karen Reed. She certainly does have a gift for it, doesn't she? So thank you very much for that one, Dawn. Renee sends $5 and goes, no, I already read that one. Oh, no, he goes, Brother Counsel, oy vey, Karen Reed is innocent, period, the facts. He didn't go so far as to say that. He didn't go so far as to say that there's definitely a conspiracy, but I'll take it, guys. It's good enough. He says she's not guilty, period. And he's being honest. I don't demand people do shit. Like, it's good enough for me. I don't need him to say that Colin Albert did it. Brian, I don't need him to say any of that. All he's saying is Karen Reed is not guilty, right? And so by rule, that would mean then that he was killed inside the house, because anyone who says Karen Reed's not guilty is also saying that if she didn't do it, well, then they had to do it, right? So he's kind of saying it without saying it. So thank you for that one, Renee. Cheryl donates 10, has no comment. Thank you very much for that one, Cheryl. Then we have Lena sends $5 and goes, just want to say hi from the UK and say you are an absolute legend. Please, can you ask Spanky on the courthouse steps about his quote, it's impossible to have a fair trial when there's police reports and evidence that contradicts witnesses. He said this in August of 2018 about the 𝗬𝗿𝗄𝗆 trial. Would love to see his reaction. It's such a good point, but it's just too many words. I just plan on asking him. What the fuck was I going to ask him? I had a good one for him. It'll come back to me, I promise. But it'll be good next time I see Spanky, which should be in 6 days. So thank you. Lacey sends $5 and goes, will fake victim have the ability to take a plea in order to avoid trial? Any other options? Does she plan on representing herself? Please say yes. There will be no plea with the, she has no charge as of right now. If she gets charged with the threatening to kill Mary Bagwell, which she probably will, she can do whatever legal remedy she wants with that. Take a quaff, whatever she gets. She's going to be able to. She's not going to take it to trial. She will lose that. She'd be fucking insane to actually take that to trial. She'd have to get a court-appointed attorney, whatever. With the civil lawsuit, she's not entitled to a lawyer there. So if she can't afford one, she has to represent herself. So and there's no plea there. She committed defamation. She's going to have a judgment against her now. The hard part's going to be getting money from out of her, but believe me, I will get my satisfaction out of this. I will get my justice, if you will. So thank you. Courtney sends $10, goes, because you casually name dropped Dostoevsky in a live show. It's just the biggest word I could think. It was the biggest. He wrote big books, Dostoevsky. War and Peace. Ever heard of it? War, also known as War. What is it good for? So thank you very much. Ghost 13 sends $10, goes, from the new video, Canton Police, do we know what vehicle Higgins arrived in, left in? Not even sure if it matters. Yes, he arrived in the white Jeep and he left in the white Jeep. And he leaves there at 1:46. He's on the phone at 1:34. He leaves at 1:46. So he cannot possibly be back in West Roxbury for 1:40 as he testified. So he lied. He lied. Next up, Michelle sends $10 and goes, Turtle Boy, grift away. Happy 𝗍𝗍 Day. And then she sends an Australian flag and says, good luck on the 9th. Haters going to hate. Liar's going to lie. Flying monkey's going to fly. Suck it, Judy. Suck it, Judy, she says. So I think that's the ongoing flame wars on Twitter with the Aussies that I have no part in and will not talk about at all. I have no opinion on because I like everybody. So there's that. And everyone's entitled to their opinions. But I'm focused solely on my issues in the Karen Reed case. So there's that. So I appreciate that one, Michelle. And yes, my trial with the fake victim is on June 9th for the violation of the restraining order bullshit. We are somehow taking this to trial. But, you know, we could have picked a trial date in March, but that would require waiving my right to a jury. We have not decided yet. I'm leaning towards judge bench trial. But I didn't want to get locked into that. I reserve the right to a jury because just the whole jury thing with Karen Reed kind of fucked me up with juries. But I will still have the option to do a bench trial on June 9th. This just gives us the option to do it. And another reason I kind of wanted to do bench in March was because I didn't want to interfere with the Karen Reed trial. And I'm like, June 9th. Whew, what if Michael Proctor testifies that day? I'm fucked. Oh, if she takes me away from Michael Proctor Day, oh my God, I'll lose my shit. So thank you for that one, Michelle. We got a couple cash apps on the phone too that I didn't get to because they were not Brother Counsel related to. Let me read through them. Judy sends $25 and goes, okay, again, this is like, again, disclaimer. If you put money in the machine, I'm going to read your message. I do not condone or, associate myself with any messages that come through here. I just read your messages. So she says, Dr. Turtle Boy, Auntie Deb, and Oblivious Benson, Video Jesus, Rick. Okay. Don't know what any of that means. But thank you for that one. Also have here one from, let's see, where's the 𝗬𝗟𝗂𝗍 one? She said I missed one from 𝗬𝗟𝗍. Let me make sure I got it. Oh, 𝗬𝗟𝗍 sends $5 and says, Aidan. No, I read that one. I read that one about Aidan. Nobody has the passion, bravery, authenticity, and drive in this whole movement that you do. Us Aussies love you. I read that one. Yeah, definitely got that one. Thank you very much. Tracy sends $5 and goes, Bettero is on fire on Andrew D. Meyer. Oh, that rhymes. Check it out. Wait, he's on there now? That's another good grifting channel. Andrew Myers. Andrew D. Meyer. He's an attorney. Very good. Check him out. Thank you very much, Tracy. And again, I say grifter as a term of endearment. It's like when black people say the N-word. It's supposed to be a word that's supposed to bring you down. And so the best way to fight that is to take that word, embrace it, and call your fellow people by that word. And then that way you've taken ownership of that word back. It's just like black people with the N-word. It's supposed to be insulting to black people, which is exactly why they've embraced it. And they call each other the N-word. I know it's a little bit confusing about it. Can Asians say it? Can Hispanics say it? Whatever. But there is a code to this sort of thing. And it's the same with grifters. So thank you very much. It says two of my favorite grifters, the goats. So thank you very much, Meatball Morrissey. Tracy sent $5 and says, Brother Counsel is such an articulate, brilliant man. Might have read that earlier. I agree. We have next up here, Jeffrey sends $10. No comment. Oh, we can't say go Lions this week, Jeffrey, but thank you very much, sir. Elbro sends $5, goes, can it appeal to a higher court if Bev denies Brady? If Bev denies the motion to dismiss, you cannot appeal a motion to dismiss. But I think most of this is, a lot of this is just making a record in case Karen Reed's convicted. So then they would have a motion to appeal the entire thing and throw out the verdict. So thank you for that one. Russell sends $10 and goes, I'm still with you, Doc. Come on, Leah Foley. I know. Come on. She's the new U.S. attorney. Again, I'm not counting on the feds. Maybe, hopefully, always keep them in the back of your head. But, my days of counting on the feds to come and raid Jennifer McCabe's house are, long gone. If it happens, it'll be a very pleasant surprise. I'll take it. It should happen. But I'm not counting on them. We can only control what's in front of us. And that is Karen Reed's innocence, which, prior to I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. But besides what Sean in the Gulf said about the only justice is going to take place at Uncle Joe's house. That might never happen. So actually there's justice in Dedham. That's much more important right now because the Uncle Joe's justice is non-existent at the moment. So there's that. Thank you, Russell. Emily sends $20 and goes, what about Kofan doofus defamation? Go Chiefs. Disagree with Go Chiefs, but I don't want to show my cards who's on the list, but maybe we'll see. Emmy, thank you. Next up, Mama She donates $50 and goes, great show tonight, Dr. Daddy. Well, thank you very much, Mama She, and thank you for calling me Daddy. I appreciate it. Thank you. Chad sends $5 and says, can we learn about Collusion Colleen? Yeah, she's a Collusion Colleen does not like Karen Reed, and she said so in a text message that Karen Reed is going down. She said this, and she knows who she sent that text message to, and I know. And the person who received it knows too. So there's that. Okay. Anybody else here have anything to add? Let me just refresh the turtle chats. Renee sends $10 and goes, if I was a beat up, attacked by a dog named Chloe, and then left out to die in a snowstorm, I would hope someone would fight for me in justice. Thank you, Doctor. Justice for John O'Keefe and free Karen Reed. Well, my pleasure, Renee. Normally the family does that, but in this case, the family sucks. Oh, you can't say that about the family. Okay. They're great. They're wonderful. They bring fake victim to court with them, and they think this whole thing's a big joke. Besides that, they're fucking great, right? But yeah, I like to think that John O'Keefe is watching this from heaven and being like, you know what, Turtle Boy, I always liked you, and I'm sorry my stupid brother can't see through this, and I apologize for him. I love him, but I'm stuck with him. But you're a good shit, Turtle Boy. And I say, thank you, John O'Keefe. I really appreciate that. You're a good guy too. You didn't deserve what they did to you, my dude. You deserve much better. And thank you for sending that article that I published in 2021 about those girls being picked on the school bus, the middle school bus in Canton. Thank you for sending that to Julie Albert. And then she responded to you with the text saying, my biggest fear in life is being featured on Turtle Boy, because that was the most satisfying thing I've ever seen, besides her then saying bukkake in court, not once, but twice. So thank you very much, Renee, for that dono. Okay. All right. Anybody else got anything to say? That's it for the turtle chats, I think. Thank you. We had a good crowd tonight. We had over almost 6,000 people on the grift. It was great to see. I loved the guest. I loved, he's just like a lot of these shows I got to put on 1.5 speed, but not his. Him and Peter Tragos, same shit. Lawyer, I don't have to put them on 1.5 speed because they spit it out. I like people who spit it out and I can have a good conversation with. And, it's great. No downtime. Oh, there'll be lots of prop bets. There'll be lots of prop bets tomorrow, I'm sure. And even more for the Super Bowl. So, and I got to see the Super Bowl last year, man. Last year, I watched the AFC Championship and NFC Championships in a box. They brought me to the intake place, and because I'm medical, there's no TV there. Every other prisoner unit gets television, and they get to watch it and sit in their chairs and watch football, but not me. Not medical. It's lonely in there. And so they set up a fucking TV for me in the intake room, and I just sat there by myself and brought my commissary and my pad, and I called people and, watched football for 3 hours, and I didn't get to see the end of the fucking game. I watched the first 3 quarters of the Super Bowl. I missed the end. I heard it was a classic. And I found out in the morning who won. When I left the 49ers game, the Lions were kicking their ass. I'm like, oh, the Lions are going to the Super Bowl. Nope. Didn't happen that way. Did not happen that way, as it turns out. So, just happy to have it, man. Happy to be free. It's so much better than jail. It's way better than jail. Way better. And that's why I can't ever go back. It's been almost a year. Again, a year ago today was one of my favorite days in jail because I went there and it was like the Beatles coming out of that courtroom. I 𝗵𝗵𝗧𝗄𝗵 Grant on my way in. And then on the way out, they're like, they came to get me and put me in my shackles. I'm going full 𝗀𝗏 𝗫𝗀𝗃, and they bring me out there and they're like, your people are all here. And nice. I go out there and it's just, as soon as we open that door and I walk out, it's just explosion. It was fucking awesome. It was like the greatest feeling. And I went back. I had the biggest smile on my face. And when I got back to jail, I was like the happiest prisoner ever. So thank you guys. You guys got me through a really hard time. It was a really hard time. I didn't want to be in jail. Missed everything about the world. First and foremost, my family, but then all you fine people. So love you guys all. And thank you for joining my program tonight and all the support you guys give me on a daily basis and all the support that you guys give Karen Reed and John O'Keefe and everyone else fighting for justice out there. All right, guys. So we will see you guys all for the next episode of the live show on Tuesday night. Karen Reed's got another hearing Friday. I'll be there, and I hope to see some of you fine people there. All right. Peace, Turtle Riders.